Okay, I want to welcome everyone to the Committee of Whole Council meeting, Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. We're going to start tonight's proceedings with the acknowledgement of treaties of peace and friendship. Acknowledgements of treaties of peace and friendship. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather in this traditional, unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq peoples. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which the Maliseet, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1726. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Maliseet title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. Thank you. Next up is the oath of office. Just give me a second, I'll be there momentarily. So if I can get everyone to join with me. We do hereby accept the office of council and will diligently, faithfully, and impartially discharge to the best of our ability the duties of the office as may be imposed upon us by law. Thank you. Next, we're going to move to matters of the agenda. Again, just let me find my spot. Okay. Yes, so the adoption of the agenda, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I was thinking that perhaps you might want to move the discussion about the chambers being open to the public up closer to the top of the agenda, because I think a lot of people start watching the YouTube video and then maybe don't watch the entire thing. So I think it would be good for them to know what's going on for the next meetings.
Okay. Does anyone have any issue with that? I can take that under mine and I'll start off with that. Okay, I've got a couple of additions. One is in addition to moving that one, I hate to call it a Make Works project, but an idea has been given to me about having some members of our community who aren't working right now take part in a sort of a bush cutting job session. Like I'll explain more as we go along, but it would be employing people who aren't employed in the community right now, doing some bush cutting or doing some work in the community for us so that they'd have some work. So I'll explain as we go along and see what council thinks about that. Also, I believe I was going to mention the event this week, but I think Deputy Mayor Burke you're dealing with that, aren't you, in your reports? Okay, so I'm going to talk about that a little bit, the event that we had this week. And I think that should do it for me, I believe. Okay, so do we have any other additions or deletions? Okay. There was a mention to Councillor Robinson, since he's not going to speak to it, when I speak to it, I'm talking about the issue with the Antiques Plus and the variance. I'll flip it over to you for that. Okay, so with that, do we have, can we have a motion to adopt the agenda? Motion 2021-0907-114. Do we have a mover?
So moved.
Do we have a seconder?
No.
I'll second.
Second by
I move
Council.
that the agenda be adopted with amendments as changes.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll still second it.
Okay, second by Councilor Robinson. On the question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Unanimous support for that motion. The agenda has been adopted. Do we have anyone needing to acknowledge a conflict of interest in tonight's proceedings? No. Do we have okay, so we can move on then to presentations, petitions, and delegations. And we have with us the MLA for Restigouche-Chaleur, Mr. Daniel Guitar. And before he starts, I just want to take a couple of minutes to welcome our MLA, Mr. Guitar, and just to mention how it's, over the last couple of years, I've had an opportunity, for those on council who haven't had an opportunity to work with Daniel. Been an absolute pleasure. I can't think of one single circumstance in the last 4 or 5 years where I have called Daniel and asked him for help on my behalf or on behalf of the community that he hasn't done it. A lot of politicians, you will say, I'm going to call you back. You never hear from them again. Daniel's going to call you back in 5 minutes. Extremely helpful, a great person, a great friend of the community. I know Deputy Mayor Berg had a lot of experience with him when he was mayor previous, feels the same way I do. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for everything you've done for the community.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. The reason why I'm here tonight is actually I sent you a letter to new council.
I was just wondering if that program would also be able to redirect the funds that they would have been spending on that on another community college course other than the GED or upgrading.
I did ask, I would say everything's possible, but we need to find a course that would be attractive to people.
Well-
And we would have the facility too. If we need a lab, for instance, we would be able to do it.
I've actually been speaking with a representative from NBCC, and I've also been speaking with a few of the local industry leaders here, and they are interested in like an apprenticeship program or collaborating with us to find out what trades or what courses are needed and in demand in this area to keep people here and educate them here and put them to work here. So I'm just wondering if this is something that we are able to achieve, if some of those funds that you were just mentioning could be allocated for that program. Well, from what the feedback that I've been getting from some of the businesses is they're needing trades like millwrights, welders, plumbers, electricians, these types of things. So it's my hope that we can get some courses similar to those, because right now, any of those courses that are being offered in English are not on the North Shore. So we're losing a lot of our younger kids because they're moving away to go to school and they're not coming back. And then from previous generations, when there was no work for our youth, they moved and didn't come back, and they moved out of province and didn't come back. So now I feel that that's why we're seeing this labor shortage and these trades shortages. So I'm thinking that it's kind of a win-win. If we can get our kids educated here, they wouldn't have that expense of having to move and pay rent, and, you know, they can remain here, go to school here, and then work here. So, yeah, for sure.
I have questions on something else. I know I spoke to you in the past, and you were saying there's tons of grant money out there. Grant money. Okay, so let's say if we wanted some money for our seniors or youth programs, work programs, as Paul just mentioned, tourism, Roydy's Point, and things like that. Would that be a possibility to apply for all these grants, some of these grants, and get some money? And how would we do it, I guess? And the second item I have is the ATV Trail. As you know, this is a project that's been going on for years, since not this previous, but the previous council. And it keeps, seem to be hitting roadblocks by not getting money from the government. And I heard that there was money out there, but that we should approach you to see how to unblock that money. So I'm just wondering, what can you do to help us to get us our bridge to get over the Jacket River and to finish this ATV trail once and for all? It's been 5-6 years, so I think it's time that we move forward, and this will bring tourists in our area. It's, you know, like they would bring business to our local area. So that, I'm just wondering if you could help us with that to get that move forward.
Actually, I was on the phone with Roger. going, the bridge. Other questions? Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. So I guess I'd have to ask Scott to make up a letter to send to the
That's what I was
minister,
asking,
so-
which minister do I?
So you give me a call tomorrow?
I'll give you a call
I'm
tomorrow.
not taking notes, but you
Okay.
give me a call tomorrow, and I know I have to invite everybody that plan to come here to.
So would we be able to meet with this gentleman also as council, or would it just be the staff?
Look, it'll be up to you. Yeah, he works evenings, so I'll
Okay.
ask him.
Okay, perfect. I want to thank you very much for your time and your answers. I appreciate it.
Yeah, not so much a question as, you know, as an MLA, I recognize that you take a lot of heat, you know, some of it sometimes good, some of it not so good. You know, I have been at meetings that, that you brought news that people didn't really want to hear. But my point is that you never shied away from that. You always brought the truth and you brought the information to the people, good news or bad. On behalf of our Legion, as you know, I am highly involved in the Legion. I can only say thank you for your support. It is greatly appreciated by our Legion and our veterans, and it is one of the main reasons that our Legion is one that we can be proud of here in northern New Brunswick. You know, your dedication to what you do, I congratulate you, and I hope that never changes, because you have the right frame of mind, the right attitude, and you deserve a lot of credit for not backing down, backing away, and always being available. So from my personal point of view, thank you very much for always being there and being able to contact and return phone calls. So you deserve to be commended for that as an MLA. Thank you.
I was cheering along with you.
I'll do my best.
I know.
Just a show.
And I was probably trying to call, tell what the score was. So, any other comments or questions for Daniel?
By the way, I'm not cheering for Montreal. My team's the Islanders, but
That's right, you showed.
it's hard not to watch a Montreal game. Pretty hard not to.
That's right. Well, thank you very much, Daniel, as always. Appreciate it. And I know, tell council firsthand that, you know, you will help. You say you're going to help, and you always come through. So we'll look forward to, you know, getting in touch with you with some of these funding opportunities.
Feel free. And you never see my face on the front page. So with this group that we have in Fredericton,
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Have a safe trip.
yeah, I will try to make it in a decent amount of time.
Night. I'm going to start things off in terms of council or presentations. So the first one, the top one was protocols, I believe, for meetings. Is that what it is, Councilor Carey, that you wanted to? Yeah. Okay, so I'll just open it up to the floor, and well, you can start if you wish.
Ken? So there was emails put out about what the protocol will be going forward for the meetings here in the building when people are allowed to start coming in again. I feel like they should be allowed to come in, and I don't feel like that there should be any more protocols or regulations in place than what there was at the meeting we had with NB Power. I think that we can put masks and sanitizer at the door, and those who choose to use them, great. And I think that the people that we have attending meetings are all adults and capable of making decisions for themselves. And I think that right now, with the way the mandates have been lifted, it would be no different than if they were to go into a restaurant or Walmart or any place else. So I think that's I think that would be the proper protocol to have here.
Anyone else?
The only comment I'd like to make to that would be that I agree 100%. The sooner we get it open to the public, I think the better it is going to be, for all parties concerned. My only question is that we have a limited room here. If we're going to maintain a specific distancing between the public, or are we just going to allow the seating the way it is now? My only question to that becomes, if we're looking at putting the chairs 6 feet apart, then we need to decide how we're going to formulate, we will end up with a limited amount of people who would be able to be here. So how do we control who would be able to come to the meeting and who wouldn't? So that's my question, in the sense of saying, I do know, for example, at St. Gabriel's Church, you had to call in to say you were coming to church, and if you didn't call, you couldn't go. So at the end of the day, if we're looking at doing, the 6 feet apart type thing, then we should have it that the day of the meeting, you must call prior to 4 o'clock to reserve your seat. Otherwise, how do we control it? Or are we opening it up?
Why would we feel the need to control it any more than how it was controlled at the meeting we had at the rec center?
Well, that's the decision we need to make. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing options out there. If we're opening it up like it was, say, prior to COVID, then at the end of the day, we've always had enough seating for those people who showed up. It's not an issue. So if that's the format we're going to follow, the only request I would make to that would be that anybody coming would say should wear a mask coming into the building and can remove it once they're seated. If they get up to go to the washroom, they should wear a mask. That's some of the protocols that have been put in place by some of the information that I'm getting. For example, that is how we're handling our bingos and things of that nature. So, people can take their mask off once they're seated, but they're asked to wear a mask when they move around. Yeah. No, they've changed it then. Yeah.
What is the seating capacity in here? Do we know offhand? Just curious? No? And what are the other municipalities doing? Anything? Do they have anything in place? They're just allowing open meetings? Do we know? No?
There was an email that Brenda had sent out, and she said that some municipalities don't have any, and some are putting hand sanitizer and masks, some are asking them to register, and those types of protocols in place. I don't understand why there would be any different protocol coming here than what there would be going to a restaurant.
I like the idea of having hand sanitizer and masks at the door. I also like the idea, if they're getting up to move around, maybe we should have them put on a mask if we're full.
Yes, the masses are there, that people can choose if they feel to use it. I think we need to start opening the meetings. I don't know how long we're going to open it with the cases going up in the province, so we may have to change it back. So, yeah, I think it's time for the public to start coming, but to have the hand sanitizer and available and the face mask.
If I may, Your Worship? I do believe that, the municipality of Baldoon deserves a lot of credit. I actually don't even remember when the last case of COVID we had in our community. So people are very, very aware, very conscious. They've done just an absolute phenomenal job in protecting themselves and those around. I don't really believe that that'll change if we open up the floor. I think we have people who are conscious and aware and are willing to, let's say, take the precautions they need to take to protect themselves and their neighbors. So I don't have an issue with it.
Is that it? Okay, the second issue I had was one I'd brought up before, and the council of the day, the last council, wasn't interested, but I thought I'd bring it back again. We have a number of people in the community who, for one reason or another, can't find work. And it's difficult for those people to be in that situation. It's a very, very, very tough when you have virtually no money coming in. And some of it perhaps is their responsibility, some of it isn't. You know, we may not be our brother's keeper, but at the same time, I think it's important that at times we show some compassion and do go the extra mile to help those who are going through difficult times. So one of those, in the last term, I brought forth the idea about having, I only call it a Make Works project, but I really don't know any other way to describe it, where we would have people who are presently not working or can't find work or having difficulty finding work help us in ways such as brush cutting or doing things in the municipality, so that the municipality benefits from having them do the work. They get something in their life that's positive and perhaps helps them move forward and gives them some hope and some inspiration, and it works for both sides. I know it's not an easy solution, and some people would say that's not what municipal government is about, but I don't know anywhere where it says that it's not, that if we wanted to try and make this happen, we could. So I'm bringing it up there. It's just an idea and just a thought, and hoping you get some reactions, so I'm putting it out there.
Your Worship, if I may. I think the idea holds merit. You know, if you look around our community, we have a large group of four-wheelers. We have a large group of snowmobilers in the wintertime. Roads such as the Beldoon Road, the Colony Road, these are all roads that are highly used by four-wheelers and snowmobilers during the winter and summer. You know, the brush is actually in the way and makes it very difficult that, you know, even for four-wheelers to navigate around type thing. So I think that there is merit to the suggestion. And I do think that if people were to cut the brush and deal with that we would have a better community for it.
And we also have, in addition to that, and those are good points, we also have the ski trails back here that are difficult for, who's taking care of that now? Arnold. To, you know, he's getting a little bit older, it's not easy, and he actually uses village equipment, so this would sort of eliminate that. So, yeah, I agree with, I think that's a point of merit. Anyone else?
You're looking at this, I'm just wondering, who would oversee this, and isn't this what our public works workers do?
It would be difficult, and that's a good question. It would be difficult to ask Cameron, for example, to oversee that. He's got stuff that he's got to do. He's got other work that he's got to do. So it would either be perhaps a contractor who would be hired to do it and asking him to hire, or her asking him to hire a few of our people, or putting one of those. To me, there's no reason why we can't hire one of these individuals to supervise. I mean, why wouldn't they be capable of being able to do that? we're automatically assuming that there's no one among them that can actually supervise. I don't believe that for a second. So I don't think we'd have to take anyone out of any spot to have them supervise and take time to supervise. They could supervise themselves.
So how many people would we be looking at hiring, and what would the cost be?
I would probably say maybe 5 or 6. I don't think need to really go beyond that, because we'd be talking about, if your parameters were they would needed to be someone who did not have any money coming in, and that could be one of them. It depends on your parameters, but if it's like that, you're probably not looking at any more than 5 or 6, and you may not even get 5 or 6. 3 years ago, we tried to get a database here of people who would go to work with some of our contractors. We didn't get 3 resumes. So I don't think you're looking at a number of people, but I think you could get 3, 4, perhaps a half dozen who would be looking at that. And as far as the cost, I know I was thinking about that today. If you were giving them, minimum wage at $40 or 40 hours a week for 10 weeks, whatever cost that would be, I'm not sure, 40,000 maybe, or not even that? But you'd be in around there probably.
So I'm assuming we're talking about adults here, not students. And the jobs that you're talking about, I would have thought could have been done by the students that just finished the season. And when I go through this community, Shaw is hiring, Shalora Sawmills is hiring, Clover Farm is hiring. So if it's a matter of 3 or 4 people in this community that are without work right now that need work, is it because they are lacking skills? Because I think that the money you're talking about investing into these individuals may be better invested into getting them employable rather than a make-work project. So that may be something that we could look into. Maybe they're lacking something, whether it be a high school diploma or whether it be, I don't know what is lacking them from any place you go. You go drive to Bathurst, drive to Campbellton, drive to throughout our municipality. Every place is hiring, so I'm not understanding why these people are not employed if they want to be.
Some of them have a lack of training. Some of them don't even have I've talked to one particular gentleman doesn't have a driver's license, which is difficult for him to find work because of that, but probably inside the municipality he could. I mean, I'm not, I've made my pitch. If council members feel it's something that they want to do, then I'm going to assume that's, I don't know. There's a number of reasons, any number of reasons. Maybe they've had a bad employment history. I don't know. There could be any number of reasons. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just have something that I would like, so I would look at that more as a supplement to Public Works, not taking the place of Public Works. I think there's a lot of areas in the village that get overlooked because there isn't the time to do those types of projects. And one thing that has come up a couple of times from speaking to people is the condition of brooks and waterways in the village. So there's a lot of debris in some of the brooks, there's flooding, that sort of thing. So if not just bushwhacking along trails, but if they could look at cleaning up some of those waterways and preventing some of the water issues that we have in the village, that's something that maybe could be added to that. And I would think of it more as a supplement to Public Works rather than something that they should be doing anyway.
Okay. Anyone else?
Cynthia does have a good point there, but like also Councillor Corey has been saying, there's jobs everywhere, and that is also within the limits of Beldoon. Whether they have a license or a vehicle, they still need to find a way to get to these jobs if we create them. So what's so hard to let's say if we have them bush cutting, how are they going to get there? It's just as easy to drive down at Shaw at one of the businesses here and find a job there. I understand there's people that need jobs, but everywhere you look around, there's jobs out there. So I don't know if we want to create more than we already have. That's just my opinion on that.
Anyone else, or have we heard from everyone?
sorry, can I just say something? I don't think it's for us to decide why people are working or not working. There's very hard at 58, say, to find a job. Shaw's not gonna hire a 58-year-old because their time there is very short. So I don't think it's our place to decide why people are not working if we have an opportunity to offer them an opportunity to work. That's just how I feel about that.
Okay, and my other thing is, this would be considered a seasonal position, and would it be coming up every year? Is that what we're looking at here? Creating a seasonal like a works program?
Well, I think you could probably try it once and then see how it works. If it didn't work well, I don't think you come back with it. I think if it works well, you might consider doing it again. Okay, so we've talked about it and we'll see if we can carry it through from there. Thank you for your thoughts and opinions. Appreciate that.
Your
Anyone
worship,
else? Yeah.
Could I get clarification on that first point? It was kind of wishy-washy at the end. I don't know if it's wide open. We need to tell staff so they get prepared for it. So is it just like pre-COVID, everyone just comes and the door is open? Is that what it's? Which is fine with me. I just want to know so I can tell Brenda and.
Okay, so this is about the protocols. Okay, I'll let council deal with it, I'll let council work with it. I really, to be honest with you, don't have a preference.
Well, we had, if you don't mind, we had people saying that we want you to come in and wear a mask, or wear a mask in, take it off, you have to get up and go to the washroom, you put it back on again. We had some that said just leave it wide open. We had some that said put the hand cleaner there and a mask if they want to wear it. They know what they're going to do. They're going to protect their neighbor. But really, I didn't get a thing out of it as to what the
Well,
protocol is.
let's do this then, since CAO Ferguson is asking for some clarification for staff. Let's do this. Let's just do a show of hands. So sanitizers at the door. All those in favor? Masks at the door and necessary to come in. You can take them off when you come in, but if you leave to go to the washroom, you need to put them on again. All those in favor? Okay. Okay, seating, do we go with full capacity or 6 feet apart? Those interested in 6 feet apart, hands. Full capacity. Yep, you're welcome. One thing I would say, just to add, I didn't say it a while ago, but really it's the one thing that sort of concerns me, and this is because of some of the issues we had in the last term, is the question period after the session. I'm glad it's off the record. We made that decision last time. But we had some people come in here last time that were basically swearing at council members, calling council members garbage. That can't be allowed. And, we either need to change the way that we approach. Personally, I was never a fan of just at the end of the meeting having some person stand up and be able to say whatever it is that they wanted to say. I didn't think that was right. I don't mind them asking a question. But for me, why not have to send that question in writing before, have it okayed, ask the question, get one response after, have a follow-up, and that's it. That to me makes sense. Why are we allowing people to come in here and call members of council garbage? Why is that allowed? You don't have that anywhere else. There's not a single municipality that would put up with that but the village of Beldoon. So I would like to get some responses on that. To me, it's unacceptable, but I mean, it's up to council, but why would you allow yourself to take that abuse? And I'll just leave it there. It's not even on the agenda tonight, so we don't have to go any further with it, but we need to figure out some way, because what's happened for some person to stand up and call council members who are working on their behalf garbage, or to say, a swear word at them? No. You don't get a second chance. You should need to apologize or be outside the building and not get back in. That's my opinion. I mean, you're never going to get respect from the public if you allow them to come in and say those things. That's my opinion.
I don't think that anybody's ever given permission for anybody to come in here and call anybody vulgar names or use foul language or anything like that. I do, though, think that people should be entitled to ask questions, and I don't think it has to be put in writing prior to, because they don't always know what is going to be discussed in the meeting that may lead to a question, and I think that these are the people that voted us in, and I don't think any one of us would have told them, put your question in writing, when we would have went door to door looking for a vote. So I don't think they should have to put their question in writing now. I think that they should be able to ask questions. That's what we were voted in to do, was to find out answers to questions for them. So that's my opinion on that.
Anyone else?
I have no problems with the questions. I have problems being called names. I don't think that people should come in here and disrespect us. It does, they don't have the right to, and we have to sit there and take it because we're supposed to be a good example. But as for the question, start going out of hand, I think that it needs to be shut down.
Anyone else?
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm sure people would come respectfully. I know what you're talking about. I've witnessed it myself. But if they come in knowing that they have to be respectful in here, and the meetings I've been at, there's always been an RCMP officer here, and when things get out of hand, they should be escorted out. But seriously, let's hope that people are a little more respectful. That's how I would like to see it.
And I would agree. I think, CEO Ferguson, if you may have already done this, but if you could ask an RCMP officer to be in attendance here each and every meeting, that would go a long way, I think. Okay, so we dealt with that, I think. So the last one for me, I'll try to get this. I know we're running against time, but it's the event that took place this past Wednesday with NB Power representatives. I thought it was a fantastic meeting. Almost every feedback I've got, 99.9% was positive. Some of the larger, more influential people who were at that meeting all thought it was thumbs up. So those are the types of meetings that you need to have. They're going to continue. And before I get into I want to thank the council members that were there. Councilor Carmichael couldn't make it. She sent her beforehand an email asking us to pass on acknowledgements, which I did. All the council members were there, very much appreciated by the people who were there. I would be remiss, however, if I didn't acknowledge Deputy Mayor Burke and Councilor Robinson, because that day, if it had not been for you two guys, and I know you may not want the acknowledgement, but I'm going to do it anyway, because both of you were phenomenal that day and for the rest of the week. So hats off to you. You made that. If not for you guys, that event probably doesn't go off the way it was. And I thank you personally, and I thank you from the village, because that meeting was a great meeting, in large part because of your actions through the day. I'm not going to detail them because it would take too long to do, but that day and the days after, fantastic work. I also, and CO Ferguson and staff too, Nicole and Brenda and Scott chipped in phenomenally that day, and Daryl too, so hats off to you all. Also to Antiques Plus, who were incredible that day. To Kevin and Cynthia, if you are out there listening, you guys, unbelievable how you came through for us. And sensational day for you, because you have some extremely, I think, good days coming forward. You're great people, and what you did for us that day was fantastic too. And I'm going to pass it on to Councilor Robinson, because she wants to, there's something related to that we're bringing in tonight to discuss. So Councilor Robinson.
Okay. Mr. Surratt and Mr. Cost are building an incredible business for the village of Baldoon. They're heavily involved in tourism in this area. The problem they ran into, partly because of that event, they have a permit to operate the cafe at a capacity of 8. We asked them to host 26. There was an issue with the planning commission in that the cafe puts them over the number of businesses that are allowed to operate in that building. So as the bylaw stands now, you're only allowed to have 2 uses for a building in the village of Baldoon. So they have their residents in that building, they have the antique store. With the cafe, it puts them at a 3rd business, which puts them over their allotted number of businesses, not taking into consideration the size of that building or that they're complementary businesses. So that's part of the issue they're having right now, is the non-compliance of the number of businesses they're allowed to have in the building. So one of the things I would like to try and move along quickly is a variance on that property to allow more than one business. They're all related. Everything they're doing there is related to the existing business. It's a building of, and to look at each one of them as individual businesses, I guess you could make a case for that, but it's pretty hard-nosed, I think. So one of the things that I would like to start working on with council is, first of all, do they have the support to have more than a variance to allow more than one business? When you look at a building that size, it doesn't make sense to say you can have a house and an antique store, or a house and a cafe, but you can't have a house and antique store and a cafe. So that's where they are right now in compliance orders and stuff like that. Is that something council is willing to work on, is to allow them more than 2 businesses on that property?
Why are they considering their home as a business?
Well, it's not, their home is not a business, but it's a use in the building, right? So the residence is one use, the antique store is one use, the cafe is one use. They actually went so far as to say the soap making and selling is another business. Yeah, you're splitting hairs at some point, right? I don't know, the entire rural plan needs a major overhaul, and I'm hoping that's something we can get to after this is, if we can allow them a variance, and then look at the rural plan and say, some of these things just absolutely don't make sense and do not work for our business, for the village or the regional service commission to be treating our business in that way is not acceptable.
So do we have support from council?
Absolutely.
Okay. So maybe we'll deal with that.
Is it not the commission that makes the judgments on the variances and not the village?
No, in terms of variances, but the service commission is heavily involved right now. So if you give Jocelyn a call tomorrow, that's all being discussed.
But they're the ones that shut them down, did they not? It was the service commission that shut them down, was it not?
Well, there was no real, I mean,
Well, we didn't-
that's,
If I may, Your Worship, the Service Commission will implement the bylaws and regulations that we put in place. So they act on our behalf, that's what they did. So that is why we need to change the bylaws so that it fits what we want to do. Simple as that.
Thank you.
anything else, Councilor Robinson, retaining to that? Is that all good? Does anyone else have any other comments related to that? So we're gonna,
Just a general comment, if I may, Your Worship. As you had mentioned earlier, we did receive some very, very positive comments from NB Power, the sawmill, the Port of Baldoon. These are people that are highly, highly professional people in their industry. They are recognized as leaders in their industry, and their comments on how we conducted ourselves and the presentations that were done there were very much appreciated, and it just goes to show that with a little bit of cooperation and a little bit of working together, what we can accomplish, and it was well done. So on behalf of myself, I guess, I thank everyone who was involved in that.
I have a question about that meeting as well. So the original email that was sent out regarding that email, the way I understood it was that the meeting was not being put on by you or the Village of Beldoon, that it was people from NB Power that wanted to meet with you. Is that, which way did it go?
We initiated that.
So originally, council was told that we had the option to stop by and say hello, but not attend the meeting. Then we were given an invite to attend both the luncheon and the meeting, but that was all the information that I received. So I would just like to put it out there that if we are going to have meetings like this in the future, that I would like to be informed beforehand as to what the intention of the meeting is in order to be better prepared to ask questions and know what is going on. And also too, when I showed up that day and found out about the permits and that type of thing, I did offer my help to move things down to the rec center. And had I been informed earlier, I'm sure myself and Marilyn both would have been up there to help, but not being in the loop and not being informed as to what was going on or the change of plans or the change of venue kind of hindered that. But for future anyway, if we could be more informed as to what the meeting is pertaining to in order to be more prepared, that would be much appreciated.
Okay. So we're going to move on. Deputy Mayor Burke, you're up.
I do have a few things that I want to discuss, but the very first thing I would like to do is I sent a copy of my report on the portfolios that I've been asked to look after. I sent that to council in advance so that council would be able to read it and see what was there and what was happening. But I'd like to make that report public now and just read it for the record, if I may. So this is the report number 1 to council, September 7th, 2021, concerning my signed portfolios. I will include in this report as much details concerning issues discussed, conclusions, and further actions to be taken on all portfolios. All the information is designed to keep council informed and current on the portfolios that I have been asked to address. The very first one is the Port of Beldoon. The mayor and I met with CEO Denny Caron and Jenna McDonald on September the 9th and made it very clear that this council is open and prepared to work very closely with the port in any development or business ventures. We outlined our direction and committed to any assistance the council can provide in the growth of Beldoon. The port agreed that the lines of communication must be open and a monthly pre-scheduled meeting was done so that all parties would know when the next meeting would be. All of council was present on August the 5th when funding for various projects were announced. Many dignitaries were in attendance, with MP Serge Cormier making several financial announcements totaling $7.5 million. The federal agencies, ACOA, had several representatives on hand for those announcements. The funding was distributed for projects at the Port of Beldoon, AJN Manufacturing, and the Village of Beldoon. On August 26th, I attended the first scheduled meeting with the port, and I met with Jenna McDonald. Issues discussed include the RCMP, AJN, road constructions on Restigouche Street and Shannon Drive. This is a very positive and open discussion on both our expectations. The RCMP, on July the 9th, I met with Constable Rock Lazat to discuss services for Beldoon. I was very impressed with the positive attitude that Constable Lazat demonstrated during the whole conversation. Constable Lazat was very open to ideas that would lead to more open lines of communication. He has already implemented visiting various businesses and individuals in Beldoon to discuss policing services directly with those they serve. I have already heard some very positive comments from local residents on this very unique approach to communicating between the police and residents. Constable Lazat has recommended an information discussion for Beldoon's residents to come to the Recreation Center and speak directly to the officers and ask questions on their expectations on policing. This presentation and information session will be done sometime in October and will be advertised in the Messenger to get the date out to the public. NB Power. On July the 6th, the mayor and I met with Bob Scott and his assistant Mary O'Neill at the municipal office. Mr. Scott advised that when there are problems in Beldoon with power outages, down poles, etc., he is receiving dozens of phone calls that take away time to deal with those problems. It was agreed that I would become the liaison who would contact Mr. Scott with Beldoon issues. I have already placed in the messenger that all power problems that the public wish to report, the public are to call me, and in turn, I will make the phone call to Mr. Scott to address the issue. Residents of Beldoon have already experienced the success of this communication on several problems that have been addressed with the contracting companies doing work for NB Power in Beldoon. Mr. Scott is also requesting that Beldoon have a member of the fire department and EMO on the Community Liaison Committee. This committee meets 4 times a year, and these meetings are done virtually by invitation from various locations. Beldoon will host the next meeting scheduled for September 12th at noon. Mayor Arsenault has been instrumental in arranging a meeting with CEO Keith Cronkite and Chairman of the Board Charles Furlot from NB Power. This is a very first for our council in Beldoon to be able to address directly these 2 influential persons in NB Power. On September the 1st, the meeting with Mr. Cronkite and Mr. Furlot was done. Most council members were present, as well as representatives from the Port, First Nations, mayors from 5 municipalities, and some invited guests. The future of NB Power Plant was discussed, with Mr. Cronkite providing some very direct responses to some very difficult questions that will need to be done in the future. Mr. Cronkite is committed to the Beldoon facility and will work closely with the best alternatives as 2030 approaches. This is the last item will be on a snow removal program that I'm looking at. This snow removal program for designated streets. I've been actively speaking with 4 contractors, Dwayne Woodcock, Ron McIntosh, Norman Corrier, and Robert Murphy in Beldoon, who have all agreed to participate in the program. The purpose of this program will be to open the streets after a major snowfall. This program is necessary because DTI are only able to address cleaning our side streets sometimes days after the storm. There are some streets in Beldoon that have been blocked for several days before being cleared. This program will have the contractors using their blowers to clean the streets. They will make only 1 cut up and 1 cut down the street. Many of our side streets are very short, so this would cause very little problem. The longer streets, such as Archibald Road and the Nowell Road, will require some planning. The contractors have been advised that payment will be somewhere between $100 to $120 per hour. These figures are based on what DTI would pay if they were to hire these contractors to blow snow. Each contractor will be assigned streets that they will be responsible to clear only after a snowfall of 25 centimeters. This will need to be finalized by council, and I'm expecting that this program will need to be done 4 to 5 times a winter. This is an example of what this program will cost. Please recognize that this is an estimate, and snowfall can change the estimate. There are 4 contractors who will be assigned all the streets required to be cleared. Each contractor worked 5 hours to clean these assigned streets. After each storm, that would be $2,000 per storm. If there were 5 storms to clear, then the total cost would be $10,000. Each contractor will be asked to confirm that they carry $5 million in insurance for our protection, and they are not there to clean the driveways or snowbanks. They will only be required to make a cut so residents can shovel their driveways and get out onto the main streets. Council will be kept informed on this program as more planning is developed. Council will need to make recommendations so that this program can be in place for November 2021. So that completes the report, which brings me to the item on snow removal that is on our agenda. There are some notes there that have been prepared for council so that they know that we need to inform our insurance people and so on and so on. But where we need to go with this is I'm looking for confirmation from council that they are in agreement with this program moving forward. And then we can arrange so that all of the details, such as notifying our insurance, dealing with the contractors to make sure that their presentations, that they present their certified insurance rate of $5 million is done. And at the end of the day, a motion of council. I don't feel that it needs to be pressed for September, but it should be in place for the public meeting in October. So with that said, I'm just looking for some direction of council, whether they accept this or not.
Okay, before we do that, I just want to make sure that council understands what they're saying yes and no to, because this is very important. And just some background, in the last term, I supported this. I had CAOL's support, I had DTI support, I had everybody's support but the council. Now, Councilor Carmichael backed me up at that point, and 3 opposed. Could not believe it, but there it was. Everybody else on board. All it took was the funding, couldn't get the funding. So here we are again. I'm supporting it again. I'm glad Deputy Mayor Burke has brought it up. And I think it's very important that council understands what they're saying yes or no to tonight. So I just want to make sure that Deputy Mayor Burke, that getting this correct. Before we move any further on this, including getting in touch with insurers, et cetera, you want to make sure we're not going to go any further if council is not going to support it.
100% in agreement. It will be council's choice at this moment in time,
Yeah.
how much further I take this.
Okay, so council, here it is. Either do you give Deputy Mayor Burke the support to move forward with this program of putting money aside that we can hire contractors to do additional snowplow service in addition, in conjunction with the present service that we have. Correct, Deputy Mayor Burke?
Correct.
Okay. Hands if you support moving forward. Well, first of all, any questions?
My concern with this, and I wholeheartedly support it, is some of these contractors have private contracts with residents in our village. And will be, I know opening the road will be priority, but they also have to take into consideration that these people have also paid to get their driveways done, and there shouldn't be a conflict. That's my input. But I do support a program, don't get me wrong.
I'm going to answer that question this way. We have always tried to pacify the contractors in our community. If I'm going to lead the direction of this project, I'm not going to tolerate, in all honesty, if a contractor is going to agree to be part of this program, then they're going to clean the streets in a timely manner, or we will drop them from the program and assign their streets to someone else. I do understand that their livelihood is cleaning driveways, but there's no sense having a clean driveway if you can't get on the street. There's the problem. So at the end of the day, the contractor needs to recognize that, this is a project, this is a pilot project. I mean, if this succeeds this year, well, then it's simple to continue it in years to come. If it doesn't work this year, chances are it'll be canned. So the contractors need to understand that we're trying to assist our seniors. We're trying to open the roads in case of emergency. People need to get to work. There's a lot of people that don't get paid if they don't show up at work. So if they can't get out onto the street, they can't go to work. So that's what we need to express, and that's what we need to do. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to make it so that people have a convenience, and it comes down to that, I guess, we're trying to make common sense prevail here, and that's what we're trying to do.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a few. My problem is that I think we need to force the DTI to hire our local contractors. They should be footing the bill. We're paying DTI to do this. So by doing this, is this going to say, okay, DTI is going to step back and say, hey, I'm not going to do these side roads because I know that the Village of Beldoon is going to pay for it. I know there's concerns also about ambulance. When there's an ambulance or is required, they check first of all where it is and if those roads are open. Then they call the Department of Transportation to get those roads open. And for the numbers, I'm not sure if those numbers are even close to what it's going to cost. It all depends on the winter we're going to have. We don't really know what it's going to cost. So it seems like a good program, but I think we need to push the Department of Transportation that we're paying. We need to meet with them before any decision is made. I don't think a decision by hand today is a solution. I think we need to meet and see to get them to hire our people and get them out there. And if the roads are dangerous, do you want a whole lot of people on the road? And I know I needed to use vacation days when I couldn't get out. And I'm sure a lot of people is in the same boat. I was locked into my road last year for 3 days. I wasn't impressed, but I figured I was better, safer home than out on those roads when the wind was blowing here in Beldoon. That's my concern on that. And I also have other questions on other things that you had on your report.
Well, I think
Ron.
instead of answering the questions, maybe I should just turn the file over to you. You know, at the end of the day, you have a lot of critic, but you have no answers. So maybe the answer is to turn the file over to you and let you address it.
Well, Ron, you've done a good job with the file, I have to admit. But my opinion is, I'm asking for questions. Is there anything wrong with asking these questions? You know, we are paying the Department of Transportation to do this work.
Any other council member want to chime in?
Yeah, I have a few questions, and I'm not really familiar with how this works with DTI and all that thing, but I'm hoping that maybe you can shed some light. So when we leave here in Beldoon and we head toward Bathurst, you can tell automatically where the Greenpoint line is, and you go the other way, you can tell right away where the Charlotte line is. Why is that? Why are their streets kept cleaner?
The lower part of Beldoon is addressed by the branch in Nigadoo, and they have changed it. I don't know if this is the first year or not, but they've opened up the garage that's on the road that goes to the highway, where the salt, in Nash Creek. It used to be coming down from Eel River Bar. They used to come down from there, but now they're parked here at the garage, so they deal from there. But with that said, our contract with DTI is a contract to clear the streets, and they do clear the streets. Problem is, they don't clear them in a timely manner. And it comes down to that. I know council is aware of the A streets are cleaned first, which is the Trans-Canada, B streets are cleared second, which is Highway 134, and the C streets are cleared after, which are the side streets in Beldoon. I mean, there is no possible way that the Village of Beldoon could possibly buy equipment and clear snow if at the price we're paying DTI. That contract, I believe, a winter contract is somewhere around $190,000 to clear snow in Beldoon. We could never do that program on a regular basis at $190,000 or $195,000 a year. Pardon me?
Is that what Greenpoint is doing? They're doing their own?
They have, Greenpoint are done by contractors, yes. You know, I think it's A.T. Roy that do theirs.
And so DTI doesn't do theirs?
No.
So have we looked into a program like theirs, or is that what you're saying would be way too costly?
No, I'm saying that at the end of the day, Village of Beldoon could, you cannot compare the size of Nigadoo to the size of Beldoon. We're 10 times larger. Maybe not people-wise, but land mass. So at the end of the day, when you look at what Nigadoo pay for snow removal, they can hire a contractor because it's not all that expensive. But for us, it'd be a major expense. We'd need to buy equipment. We'd need to have our contractors going all the way from one end of Beldoon to the other. I don't believe that we would be in we'd be in financial difficulty with that program very, very quickly. That's why this program is, as far as I'm concerned, a trial, in the sense of saying that, yes, it will be, that there are a lot of unknowns this year. But at the end of the day, we can, what if, we can say, you know, a whole lot of things, but it's never been tried. And from where I sit, it comes down to that I'm not going to start having meetings with DTI, and I'm not going to start fighting with DTI. They want to bring them here, bring them here. I don't have a problem with that. But it's not going to be me going there and fighting with DTI as to do this and do that. I presented a program to council about having snow removal on the streets. I put a lot of time and effort into it so far, and if council aren't happy with it, then they need to say so, and I'll drop it where it stands. But at the other side of the coin is I do believe that this is a viable program. This is one that is necessary for our community. I believe it's an important one for a lot of people in our community. And at the end of the day, you know, I know Councillor Carmichael made the statement that she had to take vacation days, you know, but everybody didn't work for NB Power and has vacation days. Most people in Baldoon, if the companies they work for, if they're not there, they don't get paid. End of story.
Okay, and something else I wanted to ask you if you had thought about or discussed with some of these contractors, and again, it's about the driveway snow removal, and I agree that there's no point if the road is not clear, but if your driveway is not clear, you can't get to the road. So it kind of works both ways, so that's what I'm wondering. So for example, myself, if I hire Norman to do my driveway, but now he's in this program, that would mean then that my driveway is not getting open until he's done, so now I'm missing work because my driveway is not open because Norman's gone. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just wondering how that can be addressed.
Again, I'm going to give them some credit and say they've got a little common sense. And by that I mean this. If it takes them 4 hours to clean driveways and they start at 5 o'clock in the morning, then maybe they need to start at 4 o'clock in the morning to clear the streets, or 3 o'clock in the morning. In other words, I'm not trying to take away from them doing driveways. I'm trying to get the streets open. And at the end of the day, if you know, I mean, there's going to be what-if questions all the time. You know, I don't have all the answers. I just know that in my heart, this is a viable program. I'm passionate about it in the sense of I believe it's important for our community. And it comes down to that I don't have all the answers, but I'm not going to fight with everybody to get it done either. At the end of the day, if council is not interested or council wants to put up blockades and wants to what if to death, then I believe it needs to go to council, not to me.
Okay, but I feel like you're getting defensive because we're asking questions, but I was also told
No.
that that's what a committee of the whole meeting is for, is to ask questions and to
Yep.
discuss things. So that's exactly what we're trying to do right now. So that
But
being said, I'm also wondering if there has been any discussion between you and these contractors as to, okay, so anytime there's a storm and it's over 25 centimeters, they would go out to do it. So now, if it's a winter like we normally have and it's drifting and blowing, and by the time they're done the last street, the first street is now drifted in again, do they go back and reopen it?
You know, well, again, there's only certain streets in Baldoon that get drifted in. I mean, it's not every street in Baldoon that's going to get drifted in. I know, for example, Monsignor Hickey, Legacy, you know, there's a couple of other streets that yes, they get drifted in. Yeah, they will. They may have to go back a second time at a later date to unblock it, you know, the second time. Because some of these streets, I mean, we've seen it 2-3 days before DTI get there. So for me, this isn't about, you know, I have a soft spot in my heart for the people that are suffering. I'm retired. I don't need to get out of my driveway anymore. You know, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who do, And, I mean, I know as counselors, we've all answered phone calls about people who need an ambulance. They say, well, I take oxygen, I need an ambulance. What would you do? What's the program? Well, at the end of the day, that's all I'm trying to do, you know? And, I mean, if you think that I haven't put a lot of time into this to date, you would be mistaken. I have spoken
Deputy
to
Mayor
all
Burke.
4 contractors.
Just for the sake of time, because we're at 8:30, Councilor Robinson, do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, for what it's worth, I fully support hiring the local contractors to clear the side roads. I think our citizens need to feel safe in thinking that if they need an ambulance, we're not calling DTI to say, oh, can you come make sure that road is open? Just for peace of mind, for members of our community, that if they need help is going to be able to get to them. As far as personal driveways, if the road ain't cleared, your driveway's not getting done either. The plows have to have a clear road to get into your driveway anyway. So it's a chicken and egg kind of situation. So I would like to thank Deputy Mayor Burke for all the work he's put into that file, because it's no small task to get all of these people on board. So that, for what it's worth, I fully support it.
2 quick points before we just get a gauge on the support here. Number one, you're absolutely right, Deputy Mayor Burke, thank you very much. You always do great work, and again, you have in this file. In all fairness to him, and because it's September, we can't keep going this off and off and off, and finally, DTI has given their blessing to this. There's no point, there's no need to talk to DTI. This same conversation was had with CAO Lee. The streets haven't changed. The winters haven't changed. There's nothing changed. So DTI has already given their blessing to this. And in all fairness to Deputy Mayor Burke, to ask him to keep going on with this file, if he's not going to have the support of council, is not fair. So I'm just going to ask for those who support him moving forward with this and getting this done.
First of all, just a clarification of where I do intend on going. You know, you've all had some notes submitted on your agenda that what needs to be clarified. That I will clear that, and I will also meet with the contractors again to kind of lay down, this is what we're looking at, and this is where we need to go, and I would bring all of that information probably forward at the next committee of the whole meeting so that it would be on the agenda for a motion in October. That's kind of like the timeline.
Okay, so let's move on. Those in support of having Deputy Mayor Burke move forward with this file and getting this file accomplished as it is. All those in favor say aye. I have to feel guilty, but we do need to go on. I think Deputy Mayor Burke's.
I know that he's worked really hard, and I'm in full support, but a simple question shouldn't.
And I think he's been very, very, very fair and very, very polite, to be honest with you. I think he's answered all the questions very well. We can't ask much more than that. But we do have to move on at some point. Let's do this again. Those in favor, say aye. Those
I am
opposed,
in
say no.
agreement to you moving forward with it, and I would like to have some of the questions that we've asked answered. And I'm sure that and I appreciate that you've worked very hard on this, and I do think it's a program, I do think it's something that we need to look into, and I appreciate you doing that, and I look forward to getting more information on it, so thank you.
I just want to say, it seems like a good program. I didn't mean to be, to criticize it. I just wanted some answers, and that's all I asked. And I just feel that I didn't want to offend anybody, but if we can't speak to each other at a council table without people getting upset, it's sad. But yeah, I want more answers on it.
Okay, so we're going to move forward. Deputy Mayor Burke.
Are we moving forward? Okay.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Burke, you're next up.
Yeah, the next item is basically on the having an engineering firm evaluate whether this building has been given fair value for the taxpayer. We have $4.655 million into this building. I don't believe that there is an issue, say, in tendering. I just believe that there was an issue in how things were tendered. So I do not want to fall, for example, I can give a classic example of that. The Restigouche Road, which has come to council's table, came in at Roy's Engineering said that it was going to be like $750,000, came in 35% higher than that. They had put in a contingency plan of 15%. We were still 35% higher. The good news, there was only one bidder on that, so there was some negotiations that could go on. But in all honesty, things were removed from the tender to bring it down to the 750,000, whatever it is now, so that it would be within our budget. I do not want to see council fall into those parameters in the future, because at the end of the day, this building has had tremendous amount of questions asked, and anybody who thinks that it's only me would be in for a shock. Many of you are aware that prior to be on council, I had formulated a committee, a concerned citizens committee here, and there was 165 people on that committee that I was contacting on a monthly basis. And at the end of the day, these people are interested to know what the value in this building is. And if we brought in an engineer to evaluate the building and decide whether we're having good value for our dollars, that's going to solve a lot of answers. So I'm going to be bringing forward a motion on that at the public meeting. You can decide what you want to do with it then, but at the end of the day, that's the background to it. The next item is, it has to do with the water filtration system for Chaleur Drive. Again, there are some notes there that are there on our agenda item. Chaleur Drive is having problems with turbidity in the water line. There's a couple of reasons for that. Is because they're sucking water from the bottom of the river, and the river's so low that it's hard to deal with. But there is also a safety mechanism in there that the supplier of our, or the person who does maintenance to our filtration system has told us that we could buy a certain filtration system that would solve a lot of that problems. I've spoken to a couple of the people on Chaleur Drive. They're telling me they're even getting rocks in the water at the tap. They said there are little gravels coming out. So the system is pumping this stuff through the pipes, and it's coming out at the end. So the proposal basically is to use the gas tax fund. Now, council is aware that the gas tax fund, water and sewerage, is an approved item. The good news to that is that the gas tax fund can be used, because you cannot use the general fund to buy this filtration system. So I would like to have a motion at the public meeting that the filtration system be purchased through the gas tax fund. And I know our CAO will need to reapply to the province for permission to use the gas tax fund, and we'll need to reapply having it in our plan. But at the end of the day, the problem on Chaleur Drive needs to be dealt with, and I believe it is a plan that we can solve by utilizing the gas tax fund and purchasing this filtration system. So there will be a motion at the public meeting to utilize the gas tax fund and purchase a filtration system.
If I could, Your Worship?
Yep.
It was on my list as well, because it's been, I think, 32 days now that they've been on a boil order on Chaleur Drive. Normally what would happen in the years past is that they would switch the pipeline from the Jacket River to the Beldoon River. Unfortunately, there are not very many workers at the smelter anymore who did that work, so I couldn't get anybody to do it. I said, well, the person that was who was the only one that could do it was on holidays, but he's back today. So Mr. Bepperling called me today and said we can go tomorrow to get that done, to change it over. But at the end of the day, this problem has been going on. I've only been here a couple months, but I've known about this problem for a long time because I play hockey with a bunch of guys from Beldoon and I hear about it. So it certainly is an issue. It's a political issue because nobody thinks that they should be paying for their water and sewage on that drive, but that's up to you. I have been speaking with Mr. Divenborden, who does our work on our water system, and he showed me the pictures of the inside the filters in the river, and there's a couple of issues. Number one, that as the deputy mayor mentioned, there, the water level, when it gets down to what it was like this year and last year, you just can't get any water out of it. So the turbidity level gets to a point where it's like sand, as the deputy said. The second thing is the filters that they have in there right now, they get, because of the level of turbidity in the water, they get, it's like a green moss all over everything and you can't get rid of it. And these new filters, which this whole proposal was brought to CAO Lee in 2019. A price was given. I don't know if it went to council or not, but I don't think so. But he certainly has done this before. He also, included in this process that he have is a new chlorination system for the pipes where the water will be chlorinated and then dechlorinated somewhat on the way out. Though the estimate for the whole price of this, which can come from your gas tax money, it's no longer called that, but it is the gas tax money, is probably going to be somewhere between $50,000 and $55,000. So that's what you'll be looking at, and in your packages, I'll have that exact amount, but you can see in them today, you can see the estimates of having, but I do have to ask him, like, why 2 years ago you only needed 6 of those filter things. I see on this one, he's got 9, so we'll check into that, but I'll let you know more information for your next package.
If I may, CEO Ferguson, how much money is in the gas tax fund?
I believe it's $500,000.
Yeah, I was thinking 550.
Yeah, it's 550, I think,
Yeah.
but we had a top up as well of 98,000.
That's just so that council knows we
Yeah.
have the funding and the leeway to be able to do
Certainly the
that.
funding is there for it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both, Deputy Mayor Burke and Scott. Okay, you've got one more, I believe?
Yeah, I have one last item. On how,
Sorry, I just had a question regarding that filtration system. I'm just, like, so it's my understanding that the town site and the Chaleur sawmills, Shaw, like all of these, and those businesses run off of that pipeline, right? So they all
Yes.
get their water from the same place. Is there a reason why the town site can't have their own wells?
well, first, maybe I'll let, my history on that is, first of all, the lots aren't big enough. They're not on acre lots, you know, so that was all done by the smelter, or, you know, when Brunswick Mining came in and designed all that and things of that nature. But the lots are not acre lots. They're
So does
limited
that-
for space.
The subdivision then that's in Jacket River, those are not 1 acre lots either then, right? So do they run off that same pipeline?
They run off a supplier, I believe Ron McIntosh has a water filtration system and a sewage system that he operates for that.
Okay, because I was just trying to figure out, like, as I had spoke with someone about getting wells for the potential subdivision, and they were saying that you could potentially run 2 homes off of 1 well, and I'm just wondering if it would be, because right now it's my understanding that it was the smelter that owned that pipeline, and it does require a lot of repair, and we don't know yet what's gonna go on with it. So if we invest this money into this filtration system, what happens later on if we, you know, when we don't know what's gonna happen with it? So I'm just wondering if this money could be invested into a private well system for these people back there, that they would have their own well.
It's my understanding from our legal advice, our lawyer, that they are committed legally to maintain that pipeline. That's what Andre told me, even after that
Well, they're
is
not doing a
gone.
very good job right now.
Well, they can't help that there's no water running. They're not God.
They're not maintaining the pipeline right
They're
now?
maintaining the pipeline. It's not the pipeline's fault. It's really the water level and the,
But it needs a filtration system.
While the filtration system will help when the water gets really low, so that it's.
Right, but
I
they're
hate,
not-
I
and
don't
they're
know how
not
to describe it,
providing
but it's
that.
closer, the filters are so much tighter that they're gonna get that stuff when
Yeah.
it sucks up the low amount of water.
So if what you're saying is they're supposed to maintain it, then shouldn't they be putting?
They
in
maintain the
filtration?
pipeline, not the height of the water, though.
Okay, so the pipeline only, not the
That's
quality
right,
of
the
water that
river,
comes out of
no.
it or anything like that?
No,
They're
they
not
maintain
responsible for
a source to the water.
that? Okay.
That's what
So
they're,
any repair that
Yeah.
pipeline needs, they take care of
yeah.
that?
And a lot of the things, like that was put in for that subdivision before the water was used basically for industrial uses. So they didn't care if it was below one turbidity or above one or whatever.
Okay.
Now that it's actually used as a source of water, potable water, then it becomes an issue, but they're not responsible for that.
Okay.
But they do help because they go and change it to the Beldoon when,
Okay, so
Yeah.
is that something we could look into then, is to find out if legally, if it is possible for these people to have a well system?
we could certainly look into
Yeah,
that.
if we could look
I don't
into
think they
that.
can, but I think they've looked into it before. I think, some of the
if-
guys that played hockey, they said, I think it's just like it's too, but that's not a science answer for you, but I know
Mm-hmm.
they have looked into it before because, you know, as our city clerk can tell you, or it's not fun to have no water for 31 days.
Oh,
so.
for sure, no, for sure, exactly, yeah.
So they did look into it, but there is something, but I'll check into that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, the last item I have has to do with the remuneration of council. The first statement I want to make on that is, remember that every statement I make here applies to me also. You know, it comes down to that in the past, there have been examples where council members have either stayed home for various reasons or skipped the meetings because the issue was sensitive. You know, and I can go on and on and on, but at the end of the day, you know, if council was paid an indemnity for the meeting, and as I said in my proposal, I would like to see council, we normally do 2 meetings a month, council's pay reduced by $2,400, 2 meetings a month times 12, $2,400, and then we are paid $100 a meeting if you're here. I honestly believe that decisions to miss council meetings will take a much more serious look if the person staying home is going to lose money if they do that. There is absolutely no reason why a council member, as it stands right now, if they decided not to come to the meeting, there's no reason why they could say, I'm not going to the meeting, and still get paid. So for me personally, I have, it's something that I've looked at several times in the councils previously that I've been on. But with that said, I believe it comes down to that it shows clear commitment. At the end of the day, you're here, you're paid. If you're not, you don't get paid. And that will change the motivation on why council members either miss a meeting or decide to stay home. So at the end of the day, I'm going to bring forth a motion at the next public meeting that the remuneration of council be changed to this format, and the decision will be in council's hands at the public meeting. The last item I want to cover is about my report concerning the portfolios. Maybe I would ask our assistant administrator who looks after the website, I would like to see the reports placed on the website. I don't know what title you want to put it under, but you know, reports of council or whatever, so that the public would have access to read them at their own leisure. I guess Clerk Nicole Currier, I'm going to ask you, is that a problem? Am I creating a problem? Can that be done? So maybe what I'll do again, I will include a motion at the next public meeting to have all reports of council published on our website so that they can be read by the public at their own leisure. So any council member doing a report can turn it in. That report will be published on the website. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Thank you, Deputy Mayor
I have a
Burke.
question.
Oh,
I'm not quite understanding what you're exactly saying about the remuneration of the $2,400. Are you saying that we would get $200 a month? And if we're not at a meeting, that we would only get $100 a month? Or are you saying, and also I noticed that you also had there on virtual, if you're on a virtual meeting, and I have family out of this province, and I do not miss meetings unless I have to. And if you look at my history, you will see that. But the thing is that I feel if you're in a virtual meeting, you're making that decision, whether it's hard or easy. So I guess I would like to see a better explanation. I'm not completely getting what you're getting. So that does mean if we go to extra meetings, we get extra $100, or?
Well,
You
those
know.
are decisions that council will have to make as to which meetings, if we're going to get $100 extra or not. At the end of the day, here's how I'm going to say this. I've been on 3 different councils. That the extra meetings that I had to attend out of those 12 years on council, if it was more than half a dozen meetings extra, I'm talking extra ones that say would fall, that you're absolutely right, that we would get an extra $100 for. 6 or 8 of those in a term would be max. Now, with that said, maybe I didn't make myself clear there that we have a committee of the whole meeting and a public meeting every month. 2 meetings a month. 12 months of the year, that's 24 meetings. So I'd like to see the remuneration of council dropped by $2,400. And then every month, if you attend both meetings, you'll be paid $100 or $200 if you're at both meetings. So it has 0 impact on your pay, if I want to use that word, as it stands right now, only if you're not at the meeting. If you're at both meetings, has no impact on your salary. None. It only has an impact on your salary if you're not at the meeting.
But you also mentioned if you're at a virtual meeting, if you're out of town
Okay.
for business, then you get paid. But
So-
if you're away and because
So,
you're
so,
away,
so if,
you don't
if I,
get paid.
if I decide that for example, if I decided that this winter that I was going to go to Florida for a vacation, okay? Should I be able to attend a meeting of council by Zoom, even though I'm on vacation in Florida, and be paid for it? I don't think so. That's my opinion. Now, with that said, if I was away to Fredericton on a business meeting of council and I attend that meeting by Zoom, then yes, I should be paid because I'm not away on vacation, I'm away on business, Village of Beldoon business, so I should be paid. But if I'm on vacation in Florida and I attend the meeting via Zoom, that's not fair. That's not fair to my other council members. That's my opinion again. But I'm hoping I'm clear, but as I say, that motion, I'm going to bring that forward at the public meeting, and council can decide where they want to go with it from there.
okay. And just to let you know, I absolutely support the idea of reports. They should be made. They're a way of showing accountability and in a public way. And I think that's a good idea. So, you're finished, Deputy Mayor Burke?
I do apologize for seeming that it took so long, but by the same token, I guess it is
Yeah.
what it is.
No, important topics. Councillor Carmichael.
We will be starting our budget meetings. I'm going to be meeting with the clerk treasurer on Friday, and we're going to start meeting on the 14th. We also need to do another finance committee bylaw. We need to, the old one is no longer valid because some of the councillors are not here. We're going to need to decide the chair and the chairperson. So I think that we will, I don't know if anybody, I wouldn't mind staying as the chair, and I'm sure that other people would be interested in the co-chair. So I just want to let you know that starting on September 14th, that we will be starting that. My second thing is that we are getting a swing for the seniors at the Bellevue. It's a more secure swing. It's double-sided, so I'll be putting that on the agenda for next week also, to approve for the money to pay for the swing. I'm going to check with the one in Jack River, the seniors' home. I know they received one this year, but maybe next summer, early summer, May, we can, or put it in our budget to purchase a second one for up there, and we can take the two that were purchased this summer and put them maybe at the campground or other locations. And that's all I have.
Councillor Carmichael, just want to let you know you had my name on an email to attend the meeting on the 14th. I'm out of town. I told his worship before I came here that I had booked a trip for that time, so.
There's no problem. Do we need him, or we can go with the clerk treasurer? So
No,
we'll
we
do the
don't.
first
You can
one.
take $100 off it, though.
Yeah,
No, we're fine, I think.
we're fine to start the, it's just pretty much to start the format and start putting in some
Okay.
numbers.
I would, for those who weren't on council last term, I know some of the people here, Deputy Mayor Berg was at a lot of the meetings, so he probably knew that. Councilor Carrington, well, Marilyn too there. You guys were all at those meetings. The budget process last year worked extremely well. Every council member, no council member had any more say than any other council member. No council member was given a veto power. No council member, I mean, we were there last year. It was perfect. And that's the way we need to do it this year. 2 years ago, and Councilor Carmichael can attest to that, and I'm saying this is true, she and I were in the room, we were ignored. That's just my saying. I don't mean to put Councilor Carmichael on the spot, you don't have to agree with me. But I felt that way. Last year, that all changed. We had, and I give credit to Councilor Carmichael for chairing it as well as it was. So, Councilor Carmichael, if we can go with that this year, then I would say we'll have a much better chance of having the budget that the village deserves, doing it that way. Was there something else, Councilor Carmichael, that you had?
No, I'm finished for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Let me just find my place here. Councilor Carrier.
So I think all of you are aware, but I'll just go over it again. So I've been in contact with NBCC regarding trades and apprenticeship programs that we could possibly offer here in Beldoon and in conjunction with some of the local businesses. I've spoke with 2 different people from Chaleur Sawmills who are very interested. I spoke with Chief Richardson, who also seemed very interested. It's something that I envision taking in from Camilton to Bathurst, any businesses, any municipalities that would want to get on board with it. I'm kind of envisioning something like, right now, I guess, after speaking with the contact that I have here with NBCC, basically we'd need to find out what trades are in demand, to know what is needed, what kind of facility would be needed, what steps to take to move forward to get it going. But they absolutely said it is something that can be done. They did say that they have an actual mobile unit that they do take as a facility that they can be taken to different municipalities to offer the training. I did tell them that I didn't foresee the facility being an issue, and that if need be, say if it was, for example, if it was welding equipment that we needed, then we could look at possibly leasing or renting that equipment in order to offer the programs here. And the sawmill seemed very interested in taking someone on there as an apprentice, where they would actually be learning and working at the same times, and they go and they write their block. NB Power did say, I believe, that they do take on, was it NB Power? They take on a couple of apprenticeship people as well. So it's all been really good feedback that I've been getting from it, so that's very promising. So basically, I've spoke with Scott here about reaching out to some of the businesses and kind of getting some feedback from different businesses or municipalities to try to get them on board. And I'm just wondering, Scott, how you're making out with that?
It's a bit of a slow process, but I have put the feelers out to the port
Okay.
and to Glencore. Of course, they're not gonna be around that long, but they certainly would be interested in putting some funding into it. I hadn't got to Shaw yet, but you
Okay.
have, so. But
Okay.
I certainly will continue on that. I call every day and wait for answers, and Chief Richardson and I are gonna talk about it next week as well, so.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm just wondering what council's thoughts are on this, if this is something that you all are in agreement with, if it's something that you think we should be moving forward with? No? Okay, then my other thing is the subdivision plan. So for that one, okay, so there's a couple of different things we can do. So first off, I had a meeting scheduled with Melissa Harvey, who works with funding for rural New Brunswick. And the funding she deals with is basically to try to help with homelessness and this type of thing. And there is $900,000 available in funding for people who apply, and you need to be able to show that you can maintain whatever, like, so say, for example, if we were to purchase a building and we need to be able to show, okay, this is what we're going to use it for, this is how it's going to help the community, this is how it's going to help with homelessness, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a shelter. It could be a place where we're offering computer and internet access, where we're offering a phone number so that these people can be applying for jobs. They may not have a phone, but there's a phone number where somebody can, answer a message. It can be a place where people drop off furniture so that when these people do get housing, they have a place to go for furniture. We could be renting out spaces to addiction services, health services, Aboriginal services, all of these different things, and then that's a way of getting funding then to maintain your building. So these are all things that I'd like to look into, and like I said, I did have a meeting set up with Melissa, but then because of scheduling conflicts, Mayor Arsenault and Scott were unable to attend, so it was put back to be a Zoom meeting, and I guess we're still, Scott, have you been able to get in touch with Melissa yet to set that up?
The last email I got, a message was from Melissa, was she'd be in touch with me, and she'd also send me the forms for funding, and she hasn't done that yet, so.
Okay, so maybe could you reach out to her again then
I'll
and
reach
see?
out to her again.
And at this point, I'm just wondering, I know that myself and you and Paul had all talked about being present for that, but if any other council member would like to be present for that, to be able to ask any questions and hear the information firsthand, that would be great as well, because I think it's something that we definitely need to look into.
Yeah, just one, I think, point of clarification, the 900,000, I think, is spread across the province, is it not? It's not $900,000 for
You can
like
apply for
one-
up to 900,000. Because when I spoke to her about it,
Yeah.
the Don Bosco was for sale at that time, and she said we could apply for the funding to purchase that building.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that was my understanding, unless I misunderstood, but that was my understanding. So,
I have a question.
sure.
So after it's bought, like, let's just say it's a building, so we would acquire a building?
Yes.
And who takes care of it and who pays for the maintenance and stuff afterward?
Well, that's where you have to show that you're doing something with the building to be able to maintain it. So that's where the rental space of the offices and say, for example, we put the community food bank there. Well, now the food bank would pay rent to be there, so there's an income to keep the building going. Say you put a soup kitchen in there then that would be a form of, collecting the money to keep that building going. So that's what you have to show them, that you can sustain that building for a minimum of 5-year period.
So we're managing the building.
Basically, yes, and it could be done through the Village of Beldoon. It could also be done through a housing committee if it is a nonprofit organization. So I just think that there's a couple of different avenues that we can look into there, and I think that it's something that we should be looking into. So then that brings me to my next thing, that is, I want to start moving forward to try to see if and how we could put in some form of subdivision. In the Jacket River area, I've included a PDF there of the property that I'm thinking would be the best place for it, a centralized place. I don't know yet if this would, at the end of our term, maybe it would be a subdivision subdivided, and we've got 1 acre lots that we are selling for $1 to anybody who wants to put a house there that meets a certain criteria within 1 year. Or if we work with developers to come in and put homes or an apartment building or duplexes or whatnot, something like that, that could then be rented out or sold. But I think that we need some place for people to live, someplace. Right now, I feel like we have our kids are growing up and moving, sometimes because there's no place for them to live here. Some of them are moving to Bathurst simply because there's no place to live here. If somebody wants to put a house here, there's no option to buy a building lot. You have to buy 75 acres or 100 acres. So I think that giving them that, the opportunity to buy a building lot or buy a pre-built home even in Beldoon could be something that we could be looking into. Any questions on that one?
If I may, Your Worship? Just my own clarification. You say you called it the Bosco, the John Bosco?
The John Bosco building, yes.
Is it the John Bosco building or is it the hall?
Well, we had discussed both at one time or another, but the Don Bosco building, the first building that I had discussed with Melissa was the parish hall.
Okay.
Then, around that same time, I noticed that the Don Bosco building had come up for sale.
Oh, okay.
So then we thought, this is already something that has apartments and but apparently now it's no longer for sale, so I guess that's off the table.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the question on the property you're looking at for subdivision. I believe I know where that is, but that's the property that the village of Beldoon owns?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
I mean, we own two properties, one on one side, one on the other, right? So if I'm going towards the Trans-Canada, it's the property on the right.
Yeah.
Not the property on the left.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
So I guess what I'm believing to be the next step for that property would be to get someone to look at the property and kind of give us a drawing as to what we can do, how we can lay that out, in order then to be able to determine or to decide, do we want to take it the next step now and now get a price as to, okay, let's get a price to put the road in and subdivide it, to take it to that step. So I guess that's what I'm looking to do at this point. Okay, perfect.
So what I'll do is I'll get someone to come and look at it. It's basically gonna be a developer, I would imagine, guys. I mean, I don't know who else does that.
I don't know if it would be a surveyor or, I'm assuming maybe some sort of an engineer or something that would look at the property and say, okay, this is the best place to put the road.
Well, I'll figure it
do
out somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's your job, but, yeah.
We'll get someone to take a look at it
Yeah.
and see what the viability is for, and we'll get that to you before our next meeting.
Okay,
So let me get the process straight here. You would do that, and then that would have to come to council for a vote in terms of the amount of money that we would start that process, because that would take money, right?
I'm not the city clerk, but that's the way it usually works. You can't just go spend the money, it's gotta go to especially a project of this magnitude, there would have to be an awful lot of planning put in at the beginning with people that know what they're doing with regards to that, and then come up with what it's gonna cost, and a projected cost to the village afterwards, or what are the types of things, how much you have to pay afterwards, so all that would be in the one gamut. I'm not saying it can't be done, for sure it can be, but I think you need to get to, you're gonna have a lot of money there.
Well, the guy was gonna, Alvin, I was just gonna say that. I said, this, to me, it needs a lot more planning than we have right now. Like, we're talking about, potentially a lot of money. I mean, it's, the idea is great, but I just think we need a lot more planning. I'm not sure how people feel about that, but, okay, yeah.
so I'm just wondering then I'm looking for guidance here as well as to what you think would be the first step then into finding out if this is a viable project. Anybody? If am I on the right track here or what?
In my experience, which is, limited in this type of thing, but we did, I was involved in building the waterfront and Bathurst and the park development and stuff like that, but I didn't really have anything to do with the subdivision, but I think first and foremost, you gotta go to a developer and say, listen, we'd like to develop this into a place where we can put lots on or subdivide it into lots. What's the process?
Okay.
And then he would say, well, you're gonna have to get, like you said, a surveyor or whatever.
Okay.
Find out the steps, and then I'll bring those back to you once I find out. So I'll call someone like
I also,
Jean
if I may,
Arsenault or,
I also think you need the planning commission involved there too.
yeah.
And again, I'm going back 6-7 years ago, when Mark Bouffard made a presentation to the council about building clusters. The max you could put together were 4, that type of thing. So then it became, how do you deal with water and sewerage? And there were new technologies coming out at the time that you could deal with that and move forward. But I mean, yeah, I think it's going to take 2 steps: the planning commission and a developer to give you some ideas as to where you're going to go.
So as far as like water and sewage, so long as it's subdivided into 1 acre lots, that shouldn't be an issue then, correct?
Well, I wouldn't know, but I would ask the planning commission that question.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
My simple answer would be yes, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and then so my next thing would be, well, actually, I'm going to skip over the cafe just for a moment. I think there needs to be signage put on the municipal building. It was something that was brought up with previous council when I had rented the space here for McDougall Auctioneers, and now the RCMP is here as well, and there's still no signage on the building. And I do know that the signage that is currently on the building, there's a signage that says cafe, but there is none, and then there's signage that says municipal building, but it blends in with the building. People can't see it. There are people stopping and asking, where's the municipal building? And they're stopping across the street from it at my mother's and asking. So I think something needs to be done about signage here. So I think that's something that we should be looking into. And I don't know if that's something, Scott, that you can kind of get us an estimate as to what the sign would cost. I don't know what the directive would be for that at this point, but.
I'll check into that
Okay.
with Cameron. And,
Okay, thank you.
we got to get some signs for the
In
crosswalk and
fact,
stuff.
in fact, I wouldn't even have a problem having that on the public meeting as a motion. You're absolutely correct. I mean, we need to identify this building and we need to identify who's here.
Okay.
You're absolutely correct.
Perfect,
I'll
thank
look
you.
into that for sure. That's,
Okay, and along that same note, I do know that the person who had been looking to rent space in this building is now no longer looking to rent space in this building because it took so long to get an answer, and the steps that needed to be taken were just so long and draggy that now she's opted to set her business up someplace else, which is no longer in our village. So on that note, I think that there needs to be a clear directive for staff on how to deal with the rental space for anybody inquiring about rental space, and I don't think it needs to come back to council every time over something as simple as renting the space. I think that if it comes down to somebody wants to rent the space, but it's going to cost $100,000 to get the space ready to rent, well, now that's something, yes, that would need to come back to council. But I think the first step should be, okay, yes, this is the space, this is the rent. If you want it as is, as long as the business is not going to upset the flow of the building or it's not going to be in conflict of what, so there needs to be a clear directive for staff as to how to handle it so that we don't miss out on any other businesses that are looking to come here to Beldoon.
I'd just like to mention that. No, I disagree with the idea that you just, personally, I disagree with the idea that you set up parameters and then anybody that fits those parameters comes in. If you have a business that you may not want in the building, you may not want in a municipal building, but still fits the parameters. I can't think of any offhand, but I'm sure they're out there. Like, I think, having parameters set up is a good idea, definitely. And if somebody fits those parameters, that's when the recommendation would come back from your CAO and say, we have somebody who might fit this building, they fit our parameters, what do you think? Then you have and then people should always have to come and make a presentation. They should always have to make a presentation because then you can ask questions. That's my feeling about that. We definitely do need a policy. and we've been talking about that a long time. We definitely didn't, but I think if someone, to say someone's gonna fit a policy, they automatically get in, I don't think that, for me, doesn't work. I don't know what you guys think, but it should be, if you fit the policy and the CAO feels like it's a good fit, or even if he doesn't, or she doesn't feel like it's a good fit, but thinks it's worthy of coming to council, then I think it should. But I think council should always have the last say in terms of who's in the building and who's not, and staff should be a part of that conversation, right? Because it may not work for staff either. That's my opinion.
Also, I think just as a standard that when you're looking, people ask, one of the first questions, well, how much does that cost? Well, it all depends on the size of the room. So I think if we had a model saying so many dollars per square foot, and if you want to build a room bigger, that's up to you, but it's still this many dollars per square foot.
There was
And-
already a motion made, though, for the building rental.
Pardon me?
There was already a motion made for that, so we'd have to change an existing motion,
Yeah.
would we not?
But I mean, at the end of the day, well, I mean, if it fits our parameter, I got no problem if it works. I haven't seen that, so I don't know.
Well, it was if you took one room, because like right now, there's a one-room space available. If you took one room, the rent was this. If you needed a room that was 2 rooms in size, then the rent was, another price. So that's what's currently in place, which I don't see anything wrong with it, but we have a space that's sitting there right now, well, 2 spaces actually, if you count the cafe, that they're both sitting there empty, one of which has had $250,000 invested into it.
Yeah.
So I think that brings me to my next one, like that cafe, like something needs to be done with it, and I don't think it's up to us to say, this is what we want there, put in a tender to give us what we want. I think it's, we have a space available for rent, we would like it to be a food service. Does anybody want to rent it and put in a food service? I think that there's too much of it being dictated as to, like, we're not in any position to be picky here. We're asking somebody to set up a business here and take a risk, and so, and that kind of brings me back to the whole thing of like the directive with the rental space thing, like, why does somebody have to give a presentation to rent a room in this building, but not if they want to rent a space down up in the fire hall or down at this space, or, I don't know, like, I mean, I thought that's what we paid our CAO for, is to be able to make decisions like that, so, I don't know, I just think that if somebody is serious about putting a business in here, and like this last one was a very simple business, I don't think that there was a whole lot of questions or a whole lot of things that were left unclear, other than how much we would need to invest into the space to get it operational for her. But as for the services that she'd be providing, I think it was pretty self-explanatory in the documentation she provided, so I didn't understand why the holdup. And so, like I said, we lost out on another business here because of it. I just hate to see that happen again. And as for the cafe, I don't know if anybody else has that on their radar, if they've thought about what is going to be done with that, if anybody's looked into the legality part of it as to whether or not the village is even allowed to, I know we're not allowed to operate it, we're not allowed, that's been established, so what are our legal, what can we do other than say we have a space if you want to rent it? Has that been looked into? Anybody? Scott?
I've been on the job here for 4 weeks. So now I'm going to do a subdivision, the sale of rentals. No, I have no idea. Why don't you just put it out for tender and say, come rent this? To me, it's up to you guys. You guys are the policymakers here, not me. I just do what you tell me to do, and not one person's told me to do anything with that, so I haven't done anything with it. That's where I stand on that one.
I asked because it was my understanding that what was intended to be done with it is not legal. So that's the part I need clarification on, I guess, so.
What was intended to be done with it?
The village made the space, made a coffee shop, but the village is not allowed to legally run a coffee shop.
Why not?
Well,
We run, in Bathurst, we run a restaurant in the Casey Irving Center. You guys run a civic, don't they run the canteen over here where they sell hamburgers and
They
hot dogs
do,
and stuff
but
like
if
that?
you, I don't know.
Oh,
maybe-
I'll check into it, but I don't
maybe
think that's the
illegal
case.
too, But,
I made a suggestion
yeah,
passed that have it run as a business, a nonprofit business, okay? And we used to run the smelter cafeteria like that any funds or money that was over and above paying wages and whatever, that money went back into something. So if we ran it through the village like that, that any money that was made that would go to programs in our village, like whatever it be, but have it like a nonprofit, that we would run it here, hire the staff and the people and whatever, but anything over and above profit would go back into the village for different programs, different things that we could, but I don't think we're allowed to do that. No, I'm getting shaking heads.
Well, first of all, I don't know why we shouldn't be in the business of competing. What if we turn it into an auctioneering center? Or what if we turn it into some other business that was interfering with, I mean.
I was just trying to make a suggestion.
No, I understand that.
because
No,
it's
no.
just sitting there.
Yeah, that's right.
So, you know what? Competing against local businesses, hopefully somebody will come in and, and there will be a different entity in there, like a breakfast or something.
We've struggled forever with that cafe. It was a bad idea from the beginning, and we're trying to clean up somebody's mess. And it should have been seen as a bad idea from the start. I don't know how many times that came up, but the former council was determined to have a cafe there, and you know what? Now we're left trying to clean up their mess. But I'm sure, I'm not, for me, when we compete against businesses that are here already, it's not good. We shouldn't be doing it. The cafe was a mistake. Sell the equipment. Turn the room into something else.
I think we should get McDonald auctioneers to auction off all the stuff in there, and then we have a space for rent. McDougal auctioneering, yeah.
Well, I read the tender for that was put out. It didn't look like he had a chance to make very much money. So it wasn't very inviting to someone. So in my mind, and you've got to do one of two things. Number one, and I'll just tell you my opinion on it and take it with what it's worth, throw it out. I would sell the stuff and let someone who's around here use the stuff as a private entrepreneur that's going to help somebody within your community. You're talking about lack of jobs and lacks of things. That's one thing. Or put another tender out that makes a little bit more sense for someone to make some money. Or the nonprofit idea is a good one. My question is, how do you pay for if it's a nonprofit, you're still going to have to pay for people to work and the electricity and stuff like that. So that could be worked out, there's no question, but those would be the three options that I'd put forward. But my number one for me, but I'm not voting on it either. So, but looking at it here after the 4 weeks or 5 weeks I'm here, and I don't see that much traffic going by. Maybe it does later, but the school's further down, so you're not going to get a whole lot of those people, and you're competing very closely to the one that we talked about trying to support here. So it's my opinion would be, while that stuff's brand new, get as much money as you can for it and turn it into a place where you can have staff parties and rent it out to people for things like that. But that's just my opinion. But I will do whatever you want me to do on it, because it's not very hard to put it out for tender or to start a plan for a nonprofit thing or whatever. So I'll let you guys lead me in that.
Well, I mean, for me, it's just been, let's just cut our losses here and move on with that room. That's my opinion. I don't see any advantage in trying to revive something that's not revivable. There's no traffic here. There's no one. You're running up against you're never going to be able to really compete against what's up the road here. You're not going to be able to do it. It's, to me, could be a valuable room for some business. So that's just my opinion. But I think of all the options, to me, that's the best one. Yeah, but we need to make a decision on it, I think, at some point. Yeah.
I'll look into those three options and then I'll report back to you at your, probably not the next public meeting because I'm going out of town, but the first one in October, October 4th. All right? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Was there any other, okay, Counselor Guitar McDonnell,
I will try to be as quick as I can.
okay.
So I was just curious as to the process that we're going to take to find the permanent CAO. I know Scott's time is going to come to an end sooner than we think, I guess. But what's the process that we want to take as a council on going forward with this? Okay.
If I could throw something out there, Your Worship? As you're aware, the Port of Baldoon has hired people from all over the world to, they found some very good people. They've even found some very good local people. With that said, the comment was made that they would be more than happy to give us some guidance on how we could go about getting it out there and looking at someone. So maybe that's a first approach. I'm not saying it's the only approach. I'm just saying that's a suggestion, that we could maybe talk with, I don't know, I don't imagine it'd be Denny Caron, but it, you know, the human resource person there at the port would probably give us some very positive information on how to proceed.
I believe that we have to decide on how we're going to move forward.
I think we need to move because 6 months, it's going to go fast. We already have a month gone by. We had also discussed to maybe get Mr. Jack Novak involved in this. I don't know if we want to still go through that, but I found that was a good idea, and he has the experience and the knowledge to be able to help us if he's willing to help us. That's a second option. Ron also has a good option, so I think we need to come up to with a decision sooner rather than later.
Personally, I would throw my support in, and it's the first time I've heard of it, but using the port would be good because I think the port is going to be an extremely important partner for us down the road. And they sent feelers out all around the world, and they chose a local from Petit-Rocher. So they understand that, you know, choosing someone from Toronto or wherever is not the most important thing. It's getting the best person. You might even try sort of a combination of maybe Dwayne Woods, Denny Carroll, maybe using all their HR people to try and say, what do you think we need? They might be the best way to do that. Headhunters, we've gone 0 for 2. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. CEO Lee was a good, no, I tell you that, but CEO Hughes was, I mean, he had some strong points and he had some right, but I think the headhunters are in a difficult spot because I'm not sure all the headhunters understand rural areas more than they understand urban areas. So anyway, just throwing that out there, but I like that suggestion about maybe using some of the larger companies' HR people.
I thought that the port used a headhunter as well. Yeah. Yeah. I do like the idea of Jack Novak, though. I think that he has a good understanding of municipal government and he would know best what to look for.
All right. Going, Meryl.
On that note, speaking of Jack, when Jack was here over the weekend, we got so much information from him and I learned a lot. But while he was here, we talked about the portfolios and we had already voted to decide that we were going to take them on. Unfortunately, his information relaying back to us was the fact that the files or portfolios that we were given really shouldn't be ours. The CAO's responsibility is to take these on. We can be a contact person, we can be the person, whatever, but I understand like, Ron's, files that he had and his reports were wonderful. But is that an expectation on all of the portfolios that we were given to present those reports? Like, I'm just curious because some of my portfolios are like recreation and fitness, professional development, policies and bylaws. That's my portfolio. So how am I supposed to approach those? You know, so if we are going to continue with our portfolios, I better get some guidance, because
Well, my understanding was that we weren't. There's only, I mean, I wasn't at Jack Novak's at the end because I had to leave early, but I understood there were council members who weren't interested in using the portfolios. Council Carmichael, a couple of weeks before that, wrote that that's really not the way I want to go. She had some suggestions about Bathurst and that. So I'm under the assumption right now, I only have 2 council members who have accepted their portfolios. And that was Deputy Mayor Burke and Councillor Robinson. That was my understanding, because when I
so
came.
they're working on their own? Is that how this is going to work?
No, they're not working on their own, but they've accepted their portfolios. If other council members want to work on portfolios, you can accept your portfolio, you can do whatever you wish. I never came back, after the Jack Novak session, I never came back and told anyone that they had to do their portfolios. Because I said beforehand, if council members were satisfied with their portfolios, they could work on them. If they weren't, if they didn't feel comfortable with portfolios or weren't happy with portfolios at all, they didn't have to do them. I wasn't going to force anybody. But I will say this. Deputy Mayor Burke has been sensational on his portfolios. And when I work with NB Power and the Port of Beldoon, they've asked for Ron Burke. So if someone's saying we're going to take Ron Burke away from his portfolios, not happening with me. I don't care. Same thing with Councilor. Her portfolio has been sensational, and I'm putting people in a position to succeed. Now, if every council member can contribute in any way they put, and I will always accept that. But Bob Scott's telling me that he's extremely satisfied with Ron Burke, and we need NB Power. So I'm not backing away from that. I'm not doing this thing with this is fair and this is not fair, and I want 6 and he gets 6 and she gets 6 and I'm not doing it, because it doesn't help the village of Beldoon. And we've got too much on the line here, and I saw where that was going with Jack Novak, and I said, fine. You don't want to do the portfolios? Don't do the portfolio. I never. But Ron Burke, if Ron Burke wants to stay in the position, if Deputy Mayor Burke wants to stay in the position that he's in right now, working on the portfolios that he's working in, then he's going to. And same with Councilor Robinson. So it's not like, oh, I'm not doing my portfolio, so we're not having any portfolios. You don't want to do your portfolio? Don't do it.
I didn't say that.
I
What
know you
I'm
didn't.
saying is, if they're working on their portfolios on their own, we're not privy to any information, so I have no idea. This lovely report that he put out, that's great. But I mean, I didn't know anything about it, you know? So I'm just wondering why everybody seems to be working on their own as opposed to as a team to go through these things.
I'm not accepting that. That's not true.
Okay.
Every council member has had an opportunity to say, I want to contribute to this and I want to contribute to that. Every single council member has. And I've spent, I don't know how much time trying to get these things succeeded, and I'm going to. And we had this discussion back in June. You either accept or you don't. Deputy Mayor Burke accepted his portfolios, and he's working on his portfolios, and he's been incredible for the people of the village of Beldoon. So, as far as the status of portfolios, people can accept the portfolios or not. But the 2 council members who have accepted their portfolios have accepted their portfolios. And they share all the information in a timely fashion. The last council never got information, ever. We had to pry it. We had to wait weeks and months. That doesn't happen here. I send emails out all the time. So as far as the criticism of portfolios, you don't have to accept them. But what I've got going on right now with NB Power and the port, I'm not jeopardizing that one iota. So people can take issue with it. If you got to take issue with it, take issue with it. Go to the ombudsman, write a letter, and say, I'm not happy. But this is where I draw the line.
May I have something to say? The thing is, it's just that we want to be more involved, and I just feel that there's some kind of a separation. I'm taking on the finance committee, and you know I've been doing that. I've been keeping up with the ATV Trail, as Marilyn has been keeping up with the event committee. We've been working with so-called portfolio. All we're asking is to be involved more into things that are happening around us. I don't want it at the minute that it's happened, but I just feel that I'm outside of things. And I'm sorry, Paul, I know you from the last council, and I know sometimes we felt left out on things. I just want to be more involved into everything that's going on, and I ask that to be involved. I want to be more involved with MB Power and the port and so on. I'm not asking for Ron to be removed from the portfolio. He's doing an amazing job, as Cynthia's doing with her portfolio. We don't have to call it portfolio, but we are still doing our work in the background. Like when I got home yesterday, it took me 5 to 6 hours. I refreshed myself on everything. We're all working hard for this council, and we all want what is best for our village. And I think you must agree to that. We want what is best. Yes, I question the snow removal. I question it because I supported it before, and I just wanted some answers. I don't feel that we need to be down each other's throat. I think we need to learn to work together better.
You know, I hear that all the time. I've heard that for 3 months. That's fine. I understand that. I worked in the council last time that was much more acrimonious than this. All I'm saying is this: when I saw this on the agenda, I said, I don't know really what the point is. And I'll still throw it back to Councillor Guitar to know. What exactly do you want from this? So you have the status of portfolios. What is it that you're asking? What is it that you want? Do you want to share portfolios?
I would just like to be up to date on a lot of things. Like I said, I told you the portfolios I was given. I have no clue how to go into the professional development. Like, I need guidance on these policies and bylaws. You put that on my plate. So I'm not even sure I'm supposed to be sitting down with Lillian and the CAO and myself to go over policies and bylaws. Yeah. You know, and okay, but I need some form of direction. It's nice that Ron and Cynthia are working wonderfully on their portfolios. Great, I'm so happy. But I'm not getting guidance to see the direction I should be going in with my portfolios.
I don't have the time to give you guidance. You're gonna have to learn on the fly like every other council member has. Councillor Robinson is a first-term council member.
I'm sure she's getting guidance.
She's putting the time in. She's putting the time in, Marilyn. She's putting the time in, Councillor Guitar McDonald. There's a difference there. The timing is there. She's gone to meetings down in Papineau. She's taken the time. I mean, I can't teach initiative. I can't teach that. I can't guide that. I can't guide it.
Okay,
I mean, you have Deputy Mayor Burke over here who's
I think
given a
there's a big
report.
difference, though, in the portfolios you're speaking of. If you were to give me the portfolio of policies and bylaws, I wouldn't know what I'm supposed to do with that either. Like, am I supposed to be, is she supposed to be coming up with new policies and bylaws? Is she supposed to be putting them in alphabetical order? What is expected of her? And the day that we voted in for the portfolios, I specifically said to you that day that it was my understanding that these portfolios were simply, that you would be a contact person. I said that I would be a contact person for the local businesses. If they had a problem, if they had an issue, they would come to me so that all of the information would be relayed from one council member rather than to be distributed amongst all of us and nobody have the full story. And you said, yes, that's what it was. And now I don't know what's expected. Am I supposed to be having meetings with every business owner here in Baldoon? And if you wanted people to kind of know ahead of time how to use their portfolios, maybe then they should have been laid out in front of us and said, okay, which ones fit best with you? Which one are you most passionate about? Which one are you interested in? Which one do you have a background in? But that wasn't done. They were just, this is what we had to choose from. This is what was given to us. And so it kind of makes it difficult. It would be like asking me to develop rules for how to run a timberjack. Don't know how to run a timberjack. But if you ask me about graphic design, I'll be able to help you with that. So maybe that's all she needs is what is expected.
I distinctly remember asking each council member if they accepted their portfolios. Okay, all right. So at that time, there was, I don't have the time, I'm telling you at the time as mayor, if you're going to have to take the initiative to understand your portfolios. I'm sorry. If you're asking me to spend time with you to try to educate you at this point or to inform you as to what
Is that not the job of the mayor, though, is to give direction to council?
You know
So
what?
if you've given us these portfolios, then you need to give us direction as to what you want us to do with them, and that is what you've not done. You can't just say, here's your portfolio, fix up with your problem, I don't have time to educate you. You need to tell us exactly what is expected of you. If you want a report every month, what do you want in the report?
You know what? There's an old saying, sink or swim. And to be honest with you, all you need to do is to spend the time on it. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to feel guilty for not having, detailed these all out. I don't. The portfolios are pretty simple. The portfolio in terms of local business and local contractors is quite wide open. To be honest with you, it's almost self-explanatory. It's to get a relationship built with local contractors and local businesses. That's what it is. How you go about doing that is up to you with the help of council. So, if I don't feel guilty or I really think that the portfolios were put out there. If you spend time on the portfolios, you're going to make some mistakes. And as far as learning what it is, that's a process. And that's the best I can do. I can tell you that the portfolios where the council members have spent time on it have been a success.
Okay, well, I spent time on mine, and I asked for direction onto it, and then I found out that you had meetings about it with other council members rather than the person who had the portfolio, and I never even got a report as to where we were at with it. So, for example, when I asked about where we were at with the website, which was supposed to be one of my portfolios, all of that was done, I'm assuming with you and Scott, you guys, I never got a report back to say who was contacted, what was done, what the status of it. I still don't know.
Well, I'm just going to move on. We can have this conversation all day. The portfolios that have been accepted by council members, they've done extremely well. And for the other portfolios, you can decide amongst yourself which ones you feel strong with. To be honest with you, I think all the people of Beldoon want is that you're doing something. And you can't go beyond that. No, you know what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you're not doing something, so please don't play that. We've had plenty of meetings where no. What I'm saying is that if you're not accepting the portfolio that you have, but you're working on making the village better, that's all the people want, and that's all the people expect. So I don't know if you want me to sit down with you, and by the way, I've never received an email from someone saying, Mayor Arsenault, would you sit with me? Have you sent that email?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So let me see, you're going to say to me, you're going to criticize me.
I wanted to know the processes going forward with the
Right.
portfolio. That's all.
Have you sent me an email asking me that?
No, but I've had a few responses from you that weren't very complimentary,
So
so
you
I'm
ha-
not emailing you.
So you haven't sent an email and
Nope.
you haven't asked me in person.
Nope.
So am I supposed to guess this?
I'm asking a question about the portfolios tonight. I wanted to know what we were supposed to do, the status of it. Are we supposed to continue working on them?
That's up to you. When Jack
That was my question.
when Jack Novak came and had the meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the understanding was that there were some, and again, I wasn't at that. I was, talking to Jack. There were some people who were dissatisfied, who weren't happy with having portfolios, didn't think it was necessary. Councillor Carmichael sent me emails before that saying this process of using portfolios, she wasn't with that. She preferred to have something along the lines of what Bathurst uses. Is that correct, Councillor Carmichael?
Yes,
Okay.
and I also asked to be involved with other councillors, with other portfolios to work together as a team, and that's not happening.
Well, I feel like I'm including council members as much as I can. I feel like there isn't anyone, if council members feel like right now like they're outsiders, then I will do my best to be inclusionary. But if it's the idea of, everybody being on one portfolio, that's not going to happen. I have Deputy Mayor Burke who's working on his portfolios, and he's doing a phenomenal job with it. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the way it's going to stay. Councillor Robinson, and if others wish to work on them, they can. Like, I don't know, what you're really looking for, but if you're telling me that you want to work on specific portfolios, but you need more information, then I'll sit with you and give it to you.
I will go on to my next one, which is the code of conduct, which is part of my portfolio. And I want to know, we have the major points in place. I've gone over a code of conduct from a few municipalities. I've seen Scott's emails about it as well. And I think the only things that we should be concerning ourselves with through those major points is there has to be some form of repercussions if these are not being followed. So that's something that we have to work on to get that code of conduct in place, and it's got to be done ASAP.
If I could, Your Worship, just to speak to Councillor Guitar McDonnell, your first one with regards to one of your portfolios, policies, and just like Brenda has done so much work on that. You have so many bylaws, and we had them in the city of Bathurst too. We took 3 or 4 every couple of months, and the city clerk amended them. It doesn't take her long. She's got them all done. So we can sit down. You come and see me, and we'll sit down and we'll look at those policies and bylaws that need to be amended for, like, look at the top ones. This is crazy, like we shouldn't have that. Let's get rid of it. So we can do that together. We'll take an afternoon with you and I and Brenda, if we can get her. She's so busy too, but we can sit down and look at them, because she has them kind of singled out the ones that need to be done. And I think there was a past council that wasn't #1 priority, but when your bylaws get to be to the point where they're not very good anymore, they should be replaced or amended. So we can work on that for sure. You just come and see me, and we'll get to work on that right away. The second one is that you just talked about, and I'll speak to it before. I've never, and I think this might go against some feelings here, but I've never heard of any council that doesn't have a code of conduct, that doesn't have consequences for something when they break the code of conduct. It's unbelievable to me. First of all, it's unbelievable that you don't have a code of conduct because you're against the Municipalities Act.
Yes,
Right
I
now.
know that.
Number 2,
Yeah.
a code of conduct is like me being at Superior Middle School and saying, okay, you're not allowed to fight, but there's no consequence. Mm-hmm. It's got no meat, it's got no teeth to it. So, but just so that you're up to par in the province, with regards to legalities, you have to have a code of conduct. It's one of the 3 important things that you have to have. So, but that's another thing. Like we have one that's going to be put forward, and maybe it'll get passed. But then we can work. You and I can look at 2 or 3 other ones, and say, well, that's a good idea. What do you think about that one? We'll put that in, or not put it in, because you know these people more than I do, and you might know what they're going to pass and what they're not going to pass. But I think there should be something to it. But that's another thing. So. We'll set up some dates to work on those 2 things, you and I. Okay. Before you get rid of me.
No, I won't get rid of you yet. Not yet.
I just want to add, I had an appointment to meet with Brenda with the policies and procedures, but she was on vacation at the time, and then I was away for a couple of weeks. So if you don't mind me, I was on that too, yes. And yeah, and if you don't mind, I don't mind helping you with the code of conducts also. More hands, I think more heads and more thoughts. If you don't mind, whenever you meet up, please let me know, and I'm more than happy to help. Like I said, we need to move forward with some of this. Like you said, 3 or 4 policies and procedures. If we can get that done, it'd be perfect.
Yeah, and as I said, Brenda has, I don't know, she got a lot, you would know. She's got a lot that are already done. It's just a matter of us prioritizing which ones we think that council would want us to do first and bring those forward to council.
If I may, Your Worship? No. Councillor Guitar McDonnell, this code of conduct that you presented, I see where you call it a draft for discussion. I've read it, and I consider it a very good document. We need to understand that we will not get it right 100% the first time. Things will be modified as we go. That's why when you see amendments come out, that something came up that changed it. So for me, the code of conduct needs to be put in place sooner than later. I think this is a great start, so.
Okay. The other one is vending machines for the arena. Because the canteen is no longer open, I've been getting requests from people to see if it will be open. I had Daryl look at vending machine options. The company will not bring in a vending machine that has food in it like sandwiches or salads because it has to be done on a daily basis. However, they have snack vending machines are available. I think we should look at maybe getting a coffee machine or something in there, but something, parents are looking for something in there when they're in there for a game or whatever. Unless you want to put a call out to see who is interested in the canteen. That is an expense.
I do see, as I was going through the tenders, I do see one
Okay.
that was there before, so that doesn't take a whole lot to do that. It's just gonna
No,
give
you
Chris
can put
Kingston
it
a
out.
call and we'll put it out and see if someone wants to do it.
Yeah,
I think, did you run it before?
yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanna do it?
No. No, it's not happening again.
Okay, I'll put a tender
However, they might have options. I'm not sure, okay? So if you want to put a tender out, that'd be wonderful. I'm sure some people would appreciate that. And my next is an update on the event committee. Did we get any response for a secretary? Nothing came through? Okay. So that didn't happen very nicely. Okay, we had the mini Beldoon Days, which was a great success and spectacular fireworks, by the way. We're having a meeting on Monday, September 13th at 7 p.m. All are welcome, and we're always looking for volunteers. So everybody in the community is welcome to come to this meeting on Monday, September the 13th at 7 p.m. And the money that was spent for our mini Beldoon Days was $13,290.41. The fireworks were $9,200. They made $1,558 in ticket sales and food sales from the event as well. And that money goes to the fire. A majority of that goes to the firefighters. Anyways, that's the end of mine.
Robinson.
Just, if I may, Your Worship, just a
Yep.
comment prior to that. That was a great report. It was only done verbally. Done in writing, you would have had a great report.
Thank you, I'll start again. September 12th is the Every Child Matters event. So Sunday at 2 o'clock, we have participation from 3 of our First Nations communities. So Listugush, our guest speaker and a residential school survivor is Roseanne Martin, so she's coming to speak. Becky Labilwa from Eel River Bar First Nations is doing our opening prayers. And Pabino First Nations Chief Richardson will be speaking as well. There will be drummers and dancers, and we have the exhibition from Legacy of Hope that is going to arrive tomorrow, according to Scott. Yeah, so that's just the update on that one. So Sunday, 2 o'clock. My next item will be a motion for council, the next meeting. One of the things that we'll be doing at the Every Child Matters event is raising the Mi'kmaq flag. And I think it's important that our municipality permanently display the Mi'kmaq flag. So I would like to see a flagpole and fourth pole installed in front of the municipal building to permanently fly the Mi'kmaq flag. So next council meeting, I will have a motion for that. And then my last item, I've been after these for 3 years. You have pictures. I'm looking for brackets to mount on utility poles to honor our veterans. Campbellton does a really nice display on their main street, and I think Beldoon should be doing the same type of thing. Not the size of the grad banners, but I think a 24-inch bracket. They're about $40 a piece. You can display 2 photos of our veterans back to back. So that's something that I would like to propose for council. And if we do along Main Street, kind of, I'm thinking Superette to the church for the first year or whatever, and you can expand on it as years go by. So it's the amount of time that it takes to scan and get the brackets put up. But anyway, so I will have a motion at next council to purchase the brackets and start working on banners to honor our veterans.
I have a question on that, Your Worship. Absolutely a phenomenal idea. My only question is are you looking at dealing with this with our Legion information, or are you looking at dealing with this through families, or?
No, I think I had spoke to either you or Alan about the photos on display in the Legion, so we're hoping to snag your photos, do high-resolution scans, and use those for the banners.
So the photos, they're quite expensive, right? The photos, like to change that over, like the brackets are one thing, but now you've got a photo of a veteran up there. That's quite expensive, if I'm not mistaken.
The banners,
No, they're not that expensive?
I'll
Okay.
have prices for you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, no, I'll wait for that then.
So the section, there's only one section of the village that's going to have these banners? Is that my understanding?
Eventually, you can put them throughout the village. I'm just looking at the kind of the path of least resistance in terms of getting permissions from NB Power and utility poles and stuff, just to have one section, because then they can go through quickly and say, not that pole, not that pole, you're free to put banners on the rest of them. I had looked at that for the grad banners 2 years ago, and that was kind of the easiest route, was just to pick one section in the village and expand from there.
So they're going to give you permission for the poles? You have to get it from MB Power?
Either NB Power or Reliant, depends on what
Oh,
side,
okay.
depends on what side of the street you're putting banners on.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry I didn't put it in your package for you, but you can see there's a new cell phone package that we've been working on with TELUS. TELUS is now got the standing offer from the province of New Brunswick. They've kind of switched from Bell to TELUS, but Bell still is one of their providers as well. But in consultations with former CEO Lee, who just started it before he left, and I continued it from there. Basically, what we have, the offer through TELUS, and it's basically going to be through the whole province as well. If most municipalities are like us, and they'll choose the cheaper of something with better quality. What we're going to do is we're going to get. You can see the list of cell phones that the village has right now, and who has them, except for I don't know who has that one that says Village of Beldoon. I don't know if that's the spare one that they pass around the village or what, but they do have one there, but I'm assuming it's to maybe one of the workers or whatever, but I'll find out. So what we've done, they're going to add 6 new phones. So there'll be 16 phones in this plan. And you can take a look at the data that's provided. It's a tiered data instead of every minute being charged. So it really, in layman's terms, it's a lot cheaper. And you're getting 6 phones. The original plan was to have the flip phones, and our original idea was to give each, well, it was my idea, I just think that every counselor should have a cell phone that's provided by the village and paid for by the village, because it doesn't cost that much money, and you do a lot of work, especially in the size of the community you're in and whatever. So we've actually gone to the Android, so you'll be able to use your text a lot easier and to search things a lot quicker and whatever. And the savings, even by adding these 6 on, is if we sign on for 3 years, which is a pretty good deal, you're saving $10,347 over what you have with Bell right now. And to me, it's really like a no-brainer. But there's nothing to lose. I talked to her at least 10 times and had a Zoom with her, and she showed me and she explained it so well that even I understood it. So it's a good deal. So and again, since it's a standing offer from the province, this contract does not have to go through the regular motion of council. We can just sign it. So I just want to let you know that that's what it is. So I guess we'll have to have a show of hands if we want to go that route, and then we'll get your cell phones to you probably the last week of September, because we have to wait till our Bell, because we're going to be charged for the whole month for Bell anyway. So we'll wait till the end of September and we'll get those to you after that. And we're going to save money, over $3,000 a year. So your worship, I don't know if you want to ask them if they're okay with me to sign that tomorrow, because I'll sign it myself, but.
Show of hands, who supports Scott moving forward with that?
Perfect, okay, I'll do that. The second one is funding for the flag poles. And I would like to thank Ms. Nicole Carrier for her work on this. She's the one that handled all this and went to find, they're not that easy to find, but she did find a company in the lowest bid for the 3 flagpoles is $4,536.75, which I believe has to go to a public meeting. So we'll bring that forward in a motion, and the next we did go to, well, I didn't, Nicole did, went through all the companies to see what we could get and quality and stuff like that. So I'm happy with that that quote right there, that tender. So we'll bring that to our next meeting for a motion. The next one I'd like to put off until, because there's still some information I need on that fire truck that I didn't get yet. So I'm going to put that one off to our next meeting. I might have, we've already, you as a council or the former council passed that already. So I think I just have to send it out. I know you guys don't like to go over something on emails, and I understand that too. But that's already been passed by council, so I just wanted to let you know that. But I will send it out, and if somebody doesn't feel comfortable, we can wait till the next one. It just means that it'd be another month before we get the fire truck. But I'll send that out to you on email this week. Rorty Road. I have a lot of counselors visit me from time to time, which is very nice. But one of the things that a lot of them, probably the majority of them do, is bring up Rorty Road and the condition of it, because it does go to the beach, and we have some ideas about what to do at the beach too, adding certain things like some picnic tables and some other stuff down there to make it more inviting for people. And I've talked to a few counselors about the idea of perhaps getting a 300-meter section or 200-meter section cleaned off, the rocks cleaned off, because I did that at Yellow Hall when I was on council, and I know how much it costs, and I'll bring that to you if we can get someone. But it's a road, and a road that everyone seems to want to make sure that we keep the dust down in the summertime. And that's almost impossible if you have, unless it's a rainy summer. But if it's raining out, and I mean, you can water it all the time. You know, you pay your workers to take the fire truck and water it, but that's labor intensive. It's also, if something happens and they need a fire truck, well, no, he can't go, he's down watering the road. But anyway, I just think it's this type of thing. There's that option to continue to do that. The second one is to pave it. And I'm not real sure that's the best option, but I'll bring, what I'm gonna do is I've got some, St. Isidore and some other companies looking at the price that it would be. I think it's 0.4, 0.5 kilometers from the end where it's, where council paved to at the end of that first home, to the end. And so I'm gonna figure out how much that costs, because there wouldn't be a whole lot of ditching and stuff to do. Or the last one is chip seal or recycled asphalt. So those would be your options. So I'm just looking at, we are gonna do something, but I wanted to let you know, we do have over $500,000 in the gas tax money, and that would fit under that funding, no problem. And as we talked about with the water for Schiller Street. So what we have to do is, Nicole and I have to sit down and revamp what we think the priorities are on our gas tax funding, because they have to be listed, and to change those things, it has to go to the province. Now, in my experience, it doesn't take that long for them to do that. If you send them something in there and it's a road and it's something like what we're looking at, they won't take long to do it. But it means, here's some things that we gotta knock down to the, lower on your list. And I know I've been through that too, when we change stuff on, we're supposed to do Levine Street or something in Bathurst, and we put it down somewhere. Well, you're gonna hear about it from some people, but there are things on there like the HVAC and some other things that might be in this building that we don't really need to do. But what we're gonna do, Brenda and I, is look at that, put some down at the bottom. We'll bring it to our next meeting or the meeting after. The council will have to approve, once we get it back from the province, before we send it to the province, council will have to approve the projects that we have on there. So this is one, the water is one, and then we'll go to the next one of importance that's on the list right now. And we'll bring that back to council once we get, we prioritize those things, and then we can send it away. Because none of this stuff wouldn't get done now anyway. Well, the water might, but the other stuff wouldn't get done until the spring. So that's where we stand on that. Tender for custodians. They have not had a contract, I think, since March the 1st. And so what I did was look at the contract. I've studied the work that's been done at both here and the other area where they're doing their things. So I'll have a report as to what, at least in the time I've been here, what type of work they did and how many hours they put in and stuff like that. But we are going to send that back out to tender again. My plan is, and will have to be approved by you guys, is to tender out for this building and for the municipal building, but not the fire halls. The fire halls, we believe, can be done with our own workers, because they don't get used that much. And we'll check with the Department of Health or whatever, make sure that we get the required amount. But we probably could save some money there, or might be taking away some work from somebody here, which is not a great thing either. But I hate to see money in my position get spent on nothing. And not on nothing, I'm not saying they don't do a good job. I'm just saying they really don't have to go there as much as they are to clean those areas. So that's what I'm going to bring to council. And I'll bring that up for your discussion right now, because I'd like to know how council feels on that one.
Any thoughts?
You said you were doing this building and the municipal building. You mean the rec?
Oh, the rec center, sorry,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You want to have one tender, do both?
Yep. That's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, that's a big job. Mm-hmm. It's a big
But
job.
I do see how much, when you look at the contract that they have for this building, there's a lot of stuff they just do twice a week.
Okay.
Like, there's not, like this area here, I think it says on the and don't quote me on that, but I think it's like once a month this place gets cleaned.
Okay.
And the washrooms here only get cleaned, they're supposed to be cleaned twice, but I know.
Well, I look at that, the good news to all this is we're going to leave that in your capable hands.
Well, we're gonna, I really think that there's room for both, and if we don't get anything back, if someone thinks it's too much work, then we'll have to change it then. You know, we'll have to put it out into two separate contracts, and then we could go from there. But
It's under two different contracts right now, isn't it?
yes, it is.
But one of the contracts includes the fire hall?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's being removed.
That's why I said you could do it under one contract, you'd
Yeah,
probably save money.
okay.
You know, you would be, again, there's a downside of that, you'd be taking some income away from some people, but
Somebody.
I think the people, if they get the contract for this in the rec center, would have to hire some extra people anyway, so that might pick up some of the slack on what those cleaners are doing, but I'm not sure, but I'm okay to go the same way you guys had last time, if that's what you wanna do, that's fine with me too, so just, that's why I brought it, to see if that's something that you might consider.
How many times are they doing the gym right now? Because, it's not enough.
No, that's why I'm saying, there's some areas here that don't get cleaned enough, and it's not the contractor's fault. It's what's in the contract. You know, like it says to clean, for instance, the office area. In my office, if I have a sandwich and don't eat the whole thing, or a piece of fruit, and that's on Monday, well, on Thursday, it's still there because they're only here twice a week. You know, that's an example, but it's not their fault. That's the contract they signed, and, you know, and I do think we have people that are coming in here to use, you know, the gym and the pickleball and things like that, and we have rentals in here that take the building, and I haven't found the wash. None, again, not by their choice, it's just they're not here enough, and the washrooms are getting dirty, and I think the service provided to our rentals and to the people that are here should be better than what it is.
See, I think when that contract was originally put forth, the building wasn't open to the public yet. That, I believe that contract was put in, I think, right around the same time we moved into this building, but like there was nothing else open, the gym, like, there was nothing else going on here, so I think that's why it was only twice a week at that time.
No, it's all included in it now, though. If you look at it, it says
Oh,
the
yeah,
gym.
I think it was included, but
Yeah.
but that's why they only put it for twice a week, was because the building wasn't being used much,
Yeah.
because it was still under renovation.
Yeah.
But yes, the bathrooms need to be cleaned
Oh,
more
I know.
than twice
Yeah,
a week.
don't worry. Well, yeah, you know. And, oh, we had, yeah, that was never put through either, the tender for the new 1-ton truck. So we did take that out again and sent it, because it was accepted. We only had one bid from Hathaway's, and, but it was never followed through on. So that was done by council 3-4 months ago, and it wasn't followed through on. So, we got a hold of Hathaway's. Unfortunately, the price over 4 months, you know, the same thing that as everything, the price went up a bit, but only like $1,200 or $1,300. So we've been in contact with them. We have the tender, and we'll be, getting someone to put a motion for that at our next meeting to get that ready, because it's gonna be in, so it's a matter of paying for it. I think it's $75,000 or something. Whoops. Yes, we have a resident on Newell Road. This is let me think, the one that's flooding from the back? Yeah. Anyway, this complainant has made a phone call here and saying that we should be fixing his flooding, and so I did look into it and contacted him back and told him that it was already looked at by Roy's consultants on a couple of occasions, and I did contact that again, and Roy's again, and he said, yeah, we've already exhausted that. We've told him that it's not the fault of the village, and that he would have to look after it on his own. And that's where we left it. Since then, the complainant has made some some further calls to us and stuff, and has indicated that he may take legal action, but as soon as that was done, Brenda informed our legal advisor, and so that's where we stand on that one. And that's it, eh?
Thank you, Sarah Ferguson, that's a great report. So, we're ready to adjourn, motion to adjourn, can we get a mover?
Marilyn?
Seconder,
I'll second it.
all those in favor?